Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto becomes like Madara part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Nishu shall unite humanity. Those were the last words of Hagoromo Otsutsuki, the sage of six paths, the creator. Since the beginning of time, the human race had embroiled itself in conflicts of power, greed, and ambition. It was a cycle of never-ending violence that was supposed to end when the sage taught humans the power of chakra. With that gift, he had wished to give peace, yet humans have an uncanny habit of destroying themselves on their own. The chakra that was supposed to unite became the catalyst for even greater violence between the sage's two sons, Indra and Ashura. If only Hagoromo had understood humanity's fault lay in its twisted emotions, and granting them power would only embolden them. A proof of that claim itself was the conflict between the sage's sons, which began over a simple matter of succession. Power. The sage who taught the world the importance of peace couldn't teach his own sons the same values. And that was the beginning of a massacre that went on for centuries. A massacre that still happened every day. Chakra was weaponized by the sage's elder son, Indra. Being the firstborn and more powerful among his father's sons, he considered it his lawful right to succeed his father. But the sage chose the younger brother, and divided the brothers forever. Ashura, the younger brother, loved his brother but was a dutiful son of his father. He tried to make peace, but the sage insisted that Ashura be his successor. It divided the world. Those who believed in Indra and his lawful right pledged their families to him, and those who truly loved the sage above all pledged their loyalty to Ashura, and that started the infinite war. As time passed, both brothers fought against each other with their respective supporters, transforming their families into various ninja clans, the Uchiha and the Senju. Two opposite factions rose that battled against each other over the centuries long after the death of Indra and Ashura. The conflict became less a matter of rightful succession or fulfilling the sage's wish, but a matter of establishing dominance, pride, and revenge. Peace never came, for the various noble clans following these two houses had their own agenda and always continued to encourage war. Various powerful individuals, groups, nations started hiring these two factions for their own selfish motives. The Clan Wars era. This was the name of the current conflict going on between the two factions. When the war between Indra and Ashura had first started, most of the world had expected the elder son's faction to win, for he was more powerful and talented than his brother and his supporters. But the Senjus proved more resilient and intelligent than their elder siblings, for they secured alliances of several other factions to their cause with cooperation, marriage, money, and other benefits. While the Uchiha, despite being the more powerful in combat, had one fatal flaw which they continued to inherit from their founder, Indra: superiority. Following in Indra's footsteps and ideology, the Uchiha continued to believe in their skill, prowess, and Sharingan. Fire bearers were they called, rumored to be descendants of dragons, ones destined either for unimaginable greatness or sheer madness. The Uchihas didn't form many alliances, unlike the Senju, believing the inferior and smaller clans owed their loyalty to Indra and his successors, that it was their duty to bow to their superiors. It led to their isolation, but despite that they continued to survive and fight, for their Sharingan prowess had no equal. Yet as the centuries passed and the conflicts increased, the Uchihas started to lose. Their power started to dwindle, with more and more clans joining the Senju, which only served to fuel the anger among the Uchihas. In their mad quest for power, they established the practice of clan members wedding their siblings or cousins to keep their bloodline pure, to prevent outsider blood from corrupting their future generations. So worse became their madness that any clan member wedding outside the clan was killed along with any children of theirs. Instead of killing their enemies, the Uchihas started killing themselves. The Senjus used this advantage to fully destroy the Uchiha to such extent that they were no longer worthy of being equal of the Senjus in power and dominance. The proud descendants of Indra continued to dwindle until another catastrophe struck them. The Sharingan vanished. It came as the worst devastation upon the warriors who prided themselves on their powerful eyes. Many researchers and doctors suggested interclan marriage the reason behind this phenomenon. Others suggested the Uchihas were simply weakened, along with many different reasons. Whatever the true reason, it didn't change the fact that the Sharingan was gone, and nothing. The Uchihas did manage to restart their prized dojutsu among their clan members. Another century passed, and the Uchiha's fall continued to become worse and worse. It became clear to all. The House of Dragon was dying. Taijima Uchiha watched as a group of boys practiced their martial art exercises in the open green field. There were 5 of them, all wearing the same armor, along with sharing another common trait. They were blood brothers, Taijima's 5 sons, heirs to House Uchiha. The proud father smiled on seeing his 2 eldest battling against each other in a deadly kenjutsu battle. Despite being only 8 years and 7 years old, Madara and Izuna were Taima's pride. Their house might have lost their famed Sharingan and much of their dominance across the world, but it had not diminished the Uchiha's superiority in ninjutsu, genjutsu, taijutsu, kenjutsu, and many other arts. They were proud warriors, and their house still had enough numbers to continue their rightful war against the bloody Senjus. Taijima smiled when Madara unleashed a fireball towards his younger brother, which was countered by a similar attack from Izuna. Madara was Taijima's firstborn and strongest son. He had inherited all of Taijima's strength and looks. He was a skilled warrior and worthy of leading the clan in the future. And unlike his younger brothers, he was not soft. Izuna was the second son, 7 of age, and successor of their house if Madara died. While not as strong as his brother, Izuna was loved by their clansmen. He was a good leader, efficient fighter and staunch supporter of all his brothers. Taijima watched his third and fourth sons continue their shuriken practice together. The twins, Yashiro and Inabi, looked identical and shared their father's looks. They were young boys of 6 years and were decent fighters. Although they were too arrogant for their own good, a trait which Taijima worried would harm them on the battlefield. And there was his last and youngest son. Taijima couldn't help but be pained on seeing the young boy. Brown of hair and the fair complexion, he was the spitting image of his mother and Taijima's deceased wife, Hikari Uchiha. Naruto Uchiha, 5 of age, fifth and youngest of Taijima's sons, was different from his elder brothers. It was not just the looks but what the boy represented that made him a pariah among his own family and the clan. Hikari had died giving birth to the boy and given him his name. Taijima had loved his wife dearly, and it had broken him when she died. He had tried to be a dutiful father to his 5 motherless sons along with playing the part of the head of their ancient and noble house. A task made even more difficult with the senju breathing down on their necks. Naruto grew up to be his mother's image. Kind of heart, and a happy child who adored his elder brothers even if most of them despised him, blaming their mother's death on the child. Taijima had himself remained indifferent to his youngest son and only provided him the basic needs. Naruto was not as strong as his brothers, or had the strong will necessary of an Uchiha. He loved too much, forgave too much, and most of the time was oblivious to the world around him. Naruto would never be someone worthy and useful to the clan. The only reason Taijima hadn't disowned him was because of the fact that he needed heirs in this treacherous world where children died, and most of all because Hikari had made Taijima promise to look after the boy. With Taijima indifferent to the boy, the clan also lost all interest and ignored Naruto Uchiha. He was nothing but a spare heir and a weakling. The strong survive, the weak die. Taijima frowned when Yashiro and Inabi mocked their youngest brother when he failed to produce a fireball and ended up coughing his lungs out. Bloody weakling, spat Inabi distastefully. Yashiro went forward to bonk his coughing brother only to have a shadow step in between. Looking up, the third son of Taijima saw his elder brother standing before him with a sharp look in his dark eyes. "What are you doing?" asked Izuna, and narrowed his eyes when Yashiro clenched his fists while glaring at a scared Naruto. "Teaching him a lesson. He is a weakling and a disgrace to our clan. Can't even form a simple fireball jutsu," said Yashiro angrily, and flinched when Izuna gave him a cold look. "He is our brother," reminded Izuna. "He killed mother," yelled Inabi furiously. Izuna stepped forward, making his 2 young brothers take a step back. Taijima was about to move to intervene, when Madara sighed and grabbed the 2 angry children by their collars. "Come, I'll teach you a new jutsu beside the lake," proposed the eldest with a grin. "Really? Nisan?" asked both the excited boys with joy in their eyes. Madara was their hero after all. "Yes. So go along now." The 2 brothers cheered and ran towards the lake to learn something new from their prodigal brother, completely ignoring their previous anger at their youngest sibling. Madara saw Izuna was still seething in anger and laid a hand on his shoulder. "Let it go, Izuna. They are kids," advised Madara, only to receive a heated glare from his closest sibling. "Naruto is our brother, Nisan." Madara saw the scared and whimpering boy staring at them. He didn't hate him like Yashiro and Inabi did, but he didn't love him as well. In this regard, Madara was just like his father, with both of them tolerating Naruto, but not doing anything more. Izuna was the only one who cared for the boy and looked after him. "Fine. But don't try to play favorites, Izuna. Yashiro and Inabi are our brothers as well," reminded Madara patiently. "So is Naruto." Madara sighed again. His brother was stubborn and would not relent. "Very well." With that, Madara was gone to join his 2 brothers waiting for him by the lake. Furious Izuna turned towards their father and saw the man giving him a firm look. "Do you have something to say, boy?" asked Taijima sternly, and watched the boy clench his fist shut. "No, father." Izuna turned away from his father and marched towards his youngest brother. The young boy glanced at him with watery eyes, and Izuna flinched on seeing the burned lips. "Gods, was he so stubborn?" "Nisan, can you teach me a jutsu, please?" asked the shy boy. "You are injured," said Izuna hesitantly, and saw the boy flinch when he tried to touch his burned lips. "No. I can fight." "Just like you," proclaimed little Naruto with such confidence that broke Izuna's heart. But the truth was Naruto couldn't perform ninjutsu well. Every Uchiha child had to perform a fireball jutsu as their rite of passage into adulthood at the age of 6. In a few weeks, the boy's birthday would come and he would be obligated to pass. However, Naruto was struggling. He was less skilled and hard-headed, which resulted into him getting injured most of the time. But if he failed the rite of passage, Izuna feared the boy would become even more hated among the clan, for the Uchiha never tolerated the weak. The only reason Naruto even had a comfortable life was because he was the son of the clan head. A despised son, but a son nonetheless. "I'll teach you, but tomorrow. Now we need to heal your injuries," promised Izuna. But the brown-haired boy shook his head. "Now." Izuna smirked at the boy's childish demand to learn when he looked ready to fall over from exhaustion. It was why Izuna loved his youngest brother. He was a stubborn fool but a person who never gave up. A child who was determined to prove himself despite no support from his blood family. "Well, I can. But then I won't have time to treat you to ramen, said Izuna with a hidden smile. If possible, the child seemed to have regained his lost energy, as he literally jumped in the air, all excited and completely forgetting the cold treatment given to him by his other brothers. Ramen! Yelled Naruto with a fist pumped in the air. Izuna chuckled at the display, feeling happy at seeing that smile. Naruto had that way about him. One smile from the boy could take away a day's worth of Izuna's fatigue. So when he offered his back, Izuna's youngest brother happily jumped and grabbed his neck affectionately. You are the best, Ni-san! Yelled Naruto, nearly making Izuna go deaf. Gods, the boy was loud. How could an Uchiha be that? Izuna watched their father staring at them with a strange look in his eyes. The second son of Taijima simply gave a respectful nod to the man before starting his walk towards the town, happy to involve himself in the endless chattering of his youngest brother. Naruto observed the vast town built by his ancestors. It was so huge, so many lights, and with so many people trying to sell so many pretty things. He was so enraptured with the sight of new toys in a nearby shop, but he then remembered father telling them Uchiha played with swords, not wooden horses. Still, Izuna saw him staring at the wooden horse and bought it for him. For that gesture, he happily kissed his brother's cheek, earning a laugh from his favorite brother. Naruto felt happy whenever he was with him. Izuna never scolded him, okay, maybe when he tried to sneak out at midnight outside the city walls. Those were the only times his brother had been furious with him, warning that the world was dangerous, especially for an Uchiha. Naruto didn't know why Izuna said that, but he obeyed his brother. Yushiro and Inabi were always mean to him, making fun of him, even trying to hit him whenever they could. Madara would put a stop to that whenever he noticed, but his eldest brother never talked with him much. And it hurt. Ni-san, does Madara and I hate me? Izuna stared at him in surprise even as he continued taking them towards the infirmary to heal Naruto's burned lips. No. Madara is busy. He is the heir to our house, our future leader. He just has a lot of stuff to do, said Izuna hesitantly. He talks with Yushiro and Inabi but not with me. I don't like him, said Naruto, his cheeks puffing red with anger. Neru. No. I have you, I don't need him. Or stupid Yasi-chan or Inabaka. Izuna chuckled a little at his brother's silly statement. At times he had to remind himself Naruto was still a child and yet to grow up. He was yet to see the battlefield, something all his brothers had already done so in varied fashions. Madara and Izuna had fought on the front lines, even Yushiro and Inabi had fought under their father's guidance. Naruto was the youngest, and as much as Izuna hated to accept, he was not much strong. Maybe he would be if father and Madara gave him a chance, but that was unlikely to happen anytime soon. Their family had never been the same after mother died. Izuna loved all his brothers. He respected Madara, looked after Yushiro and Inabi, but most of all he doted on his baby brother Naruto. People said he looked like mother, and Izuna wanted to believe that mother would like it if he looked after her youngest son. He finally managed to get Naruto to the infirmary, and summoned a medic to heal his wounds. His brother was given instant attention, for they were the sons of their house's leader. Naruto was so happy playing with his wooden horse as the medic finished healing his burns and applied salve along with bandage. She even gave the young boy some toffees, earning a broad smile from the brown-haired boy. Should we go for ramen? Asked Izuna. Yes. Izuna smacked his forehead when his kid brother ran out of the infirmary, making two nurses lose their balance and fall on their butts. He apologized on his brother's behalf and ran after him. Not so fast, warned Izuna. His warning was received a little late as Naruto bumped into some guards out for patrol. They were about to scold him but then noticed who he was and gave him scorned looks. Even those vanished when Izuna approached and glared at them. Izuna smirked when the guards flinched on seeing him, apologized to his brother and ran off. They know their place. Still, he went forward and bumped his brother lightly on the head, making him scowl. Hey, watch where you go, baby brother, admonished Izuna. Naruto huffed and placed his hands across his chest, sitting flat on his ass in the middle of the street. Izuna saw many ladies and girls swoon over the young boy and men giving him disapproving looks for such childish behavior. Izuna poked his forehead. Let's race, then, he said, uncaring about the disapproving looks from the Uchiha men. Naruto's smile could have brightened an entire city. Madara found his two brothers chatting and eating in the ramen stand. Well, it was Naruto gulping down his third bowl of ramen with Izuna watching him fondly. As he watched those two interact, Madara couldn't help but feel a twinge of jealousy. He and Izuna were close as brothers, but the bond which Izuna shared with Naruto was something else. Madara didn't know what to feel towards his youngest brother. He was family, but Madara still had hazy memories of the day their mother died while giving birth to Naruto. He could still remember her asking him and Izuna, her eldest sons, to look after her remaining children, and Madara had tried to fulfill her wish. He had looked after Yushiro and Inabi in life and war, but he was not there for Naruto. Maybe it was how similar he looked to their mother or how innocent he was compared to their hard-hearted clan. Madara didn't know how to interact with the boy. He didn't want to be cruel to him like Yushiro and Inabi, but he was not much enthusiastic to be close either. But one thing was sure, Naruto was an Uchiha and his brother, and Madara would protect him from any harm. He just didn't know how to talk with this child. He was not Izuna. With a sigh, he decided to do what he was told to. Izuna. His second brother turned towards him in surprise as Madara entered the ramen stand. Naruto paled and instantly buried his head in his half-empty ramen bowl. Madara let him be. Come join us, Nisan invited Izuna with a smile. Father wants you to accompany him to a meeting with the elders, informed Madara. Okay, just let me drop Naru home, and Madara shook his head. Now. And don't argue because you know you cannot. Go, I'll take him home, offered Madara, and saw Izuna was not comfortable with the idea, but when father said something, you do it without any questions. Izuna nodded. Madara could see Naruto wanted to bolt as well, but Izuna whispered something to him that made the boy nod. Before leaving, the second son of Taijima turned towards his eldest. Try to talk with him, Madara. He is our brother, suggested Izuna kindly. Izuna, Takashi died 2 days ago on a mission. He was just 6, brother. What is your point? Asked Madara sharply. Life is too short for regrets, Nisan. Madara was stunned and stood still even as his brother left. Izuna sometimes said things like this that showed his true intellect beyond his age. It made the eldest son of Taijima look at his youngest sibling for a long moment. With another sigh, Madara grabbed a seat beside the boy. Despite having an age difference of barely 3 years, Madara felt as if they were ages apart. The two of them were so different. Still, he had to try for Izuna's sake at least. Heard you got injured during training? Asked Madara in a calm manner. Yes, Nisan. Just a little. Madara flinched on hearing the fear in the boy's voice. Had he terrified the boy that much? How goes your shuriken training? Asked Madara, and this time the boy beamed. Very good. I can hit 3 targets right in the center at once, replied Naruto excitedly. Madara grinned a little. Maybe his brother had some hope, after all. Would you like to show me when we reach home? I'm free for the rest of the day, suggested Madara. He could see the boy was nervous and decided to make him a little relaxed. If you prove what you say, I will teach you one jutsu. Madara paled on seeing the hungry look that arrived in Naruto's excited eyes. He wanted to learn from his eldest brother, whom people called a prodigy, had yearned for it for so long that it made Madara sad. I'll do it. Then you'll teach me a cool jutsu? Asked the boy. Yes. Before he could say anything, Naruto slammed the money for the food Izuna had left on the counter and dashed out. Madara banged his head against the table. How could he forget the little rascal liked to run a lot at every chance? He ran after his brother. Madara was impressed. Never had he imagined his youngest brother to have such skill. Naruto had always struggled with ninjutsu, which was shameful for an Uchiha, but the boy had another dangerous skill. He was skilled in kenjutsu. The way he held his tanto, his firm yet flexible stance, his excellent speed, and the way he made his weapon dance in the air. The fact that he was making Madara put real effort in the fight was a testimony of his skill. His little brother unleashed 3 shuriken from his pouch and threw them at Madara. The older brother easily deflected the attacks and saw his sibling use the precious second to get close. Madara anticipated a fast strike, but what happened next surprised him even more. His brother tried to sweep his legs. Madara jumped quickly in the air and brought his tanto downwards, eliciting a sharp sound as Naruto parried it with his own tanto. Madara launched a kick towards his opponent's chest, which the boy evaded at the last second. He was not given any respite as Madara unleashed a dozen shuriken towards him. Naruto in turn grabbed his similar weapons, jumped in the air and countered the attack by making every shuriken of his clash against his brother's. Flipping in the air, he aimed a pointed downward slash of his tanto towards a surprised Madara, only to receive a reverse kick that sent him crashing across the ground and spit blood. He tried to rise back on his feet to show his brother that he was not yet done, but his chest hurt. You did good. Naruto smiled at the rare praise he received from his eldest brother. He even helped him get back on his feet and fulfilled his promise by showing him a jutsu that complemented his skills. You are good with weapons. Your accuracy is good, so let me teach you how to make your shuriken attack more deadly and longer in range, explained Madara. Naruto nodded dutifully. Madara showed him the hand seals, which were a set of 3 signs which Naruto learned quickly. Next, Madara advised him regarding the amount of chakra he had to use to make his attack more deadly. All sons of Taijima had already been taught chakra control exercises in hopes of making them true warriors at early age, and it was proving useful now. Naruto threw a single shuriken, followed by performing the hand seals Madara had shown him while also infusing some chakra. He was surprised when his single shuriken turned into 7 more replicas and struck more targets. Good. Make your hand signs faster. On the battlefield, a delay of even a second could cost you your life, warned Madara. Yes, Nisan. Madara nodded and turned around to walk away now that his job was done when Naruto's words struck him. You do care about me. If not for his self-control, Madara didn't know what he would have done on hearing those words, so he chose a standard reply. You are my brother. As your eldest sibling, it is my duty to protect you. Naruto smiled at him happily. Madara couldn't understand why this boy was so happy. All he had done for him was teach him a simple jutsu which anyone else could have done as well. But the way Naruto was smiling showed as he was given a mountain full of gold. The boy was strange. He was distracted from his thoughts when he saw Izuna enter the compound and storm towards his room. He looked furious. Naruto, go get some rest in your room, commanded Madara. But, now, the boy huffed, earning a raised eyebrow from Madara. 2 seconds later, Naruto instantly ran towards his room, earning a faint smile from Madara. Maybe Izuna was not so wrong about him. Still, he decided to let Izuna fume. When his second brother was angry, It was best to leave him alone, and Madara had a feeling as to who could have made him so. Yet he couldn't help but wonder why Izuna was so mad. A week later, Madara found his answer as he stood on the battlefield alongside a large number of his clansmen, and all his brothers. Taijima stood at the front of the 300-strong Uchiha force ready to face their sworn enemies. In front of him was the Great Tama River, a key strategic water source that was the lifeline of several nearby villages. One which had been controlled by the Senjus for more than a century, now soon to be in the possession of the Uchiha. Losing this river would harm the Senju's interests greatly and secure a key victory for the Uchihas, which would get them more contracts from the wealthy feudal lords who had been recently flocking to the Senju's more. He stared at his sons, all of whom were going to participate in the battle. Madara was composed and ready as he always was. Yashiro and Inabi were eager to fight in order to kill their house's sworn enemies. Izuna was furious. The second son of Taijima, instead of standing beside his father, was standing protectively around his youngest brother. Naruto's face was a mixture of apprehension, fear and excitement. He was a child of 5 and normally it would be a few months before he joined his brothers in this endless conflict. But Taijima had seen Naruto's struggle with ninjutsu and doubted his son could learn the fireball jutsu before his rite of passage came. If he failed, it would dishonor their family amidst their clan. So Taijima had brought him here in hopes of making the green boy see what dangers awaited him, and how he had to mend his ways to be a better Uchiha like his brothers were. If Naruto performed well, then their clan members might just ignore his lack of prowess in ninjutsu, and if he died, then at least he would die with honor and a tanto in hand. He would be a true Uchiha. Izuna had been furious with him and argued every day to revoke his decision, but Taijima had made his choice. His youngest son would either become a true Uchiha or die as one on this battlefield. Naruto, the nervous boy who had been biting his lip in silent anticipation, looked up at his favorite brother and saw him smile reassuringly. Stick them with the pointy end. Naruto smiled and nodded as he gripped his short tanto firmly in his 2 little hands. Soon enough he heard the war horns blowing across the other side of the river and saw movement inside the woods there. Moments later an army of warriors clad in armor rushed out with their swords and weapons, their cries of war being returned by the Uchiha in equal fervor. As they charged, Naruto stuck to Izuna's side and noticed that while the enemy wore armor, his clansmen didn't have any such protection. Instead, the Uchihas wore their war clothes and rushed towards the battle. For some reason, Naruto found this strange and stupid. He was mesmerized when a black rain rose high in the sky, and he noticed it was rain of kunai and shuriken descending down upon his side. The Uchihas deflected the incoming attacks with ease, but some were not fast enough to counter the massive storm raining from the skies and fell as blood gurgled out of their mangled bodies. Naruto watched in horror as his elder brother Inabi fell to the ground, clutching his little throat where a sharp kunai lay buried. He stood motionless, waiting for his mean older brother to get up, but Inabi continued to stay still even as a pool of red blood started forming around his corpse. His brother was dead. The battlefield was engulfed in chaos with the sounds of weapons clashing, men screaming, jutsu being unleashed filling the air. Men and women fought against each other, trying to kill each other as viciously and savagely possible. Naruto saw Yashiro cry in agony on watching his twin brother die. The older Uchiha roared fiercely, followed by leaping in the air to stab a teenage Senju in the belly. Yashiro howled and slashed 2 more surprised Senjus, viciously hacking them to death before 3 swords pierced his torso. Yashiro grinned weakly as he let 1 kunai fall from his pouch. There was an explosion that ripped Yashiro to shreds along with the men who killed him. Naruto stood numb, watching his second brother die as the blood and guts rained down on him. Anger, it surged through his body like a tidal wave as he grabbed his tanto and ran towards the nearest Senju. Ignoring the armored chest, Naruto viciously hacked at the man's knees, making a torrent of blood erupt along with the enemy's cry as he fell to the ground. The last thing he ever saw was Naruto's tanto being buried in his brain. Naruto had to deflect a dozen shuriken that were aimed to kill him. In his bloodlust, he charged forward, stepping over dead bodies and spilled guts. The Senju woman blinked when he jumped in the air, and she poorly tried to raise her weapon, but not fast enough as Naruto sliced her neck brutally. He hacked, he slashed, he ran, he fell, he stabbed, he parried. His mind was in a daze as he continued to kill isolated Senju warriors with the help of his clansmen, never showing them an ounce of mercy. Yashiro and Inabi were always mean to him, but they were his brothers, and these bad men killed them. He whirled around as he sensed an incoming attack and managed to parry a tanto from slicing his head off. He was finally snapped out of his rage and noticed it was a young girl. She had blonde hair that barely reached her shoulders, bright green eyes that were full of anger and fear. Her little body was covered in heavy Senju armor, and she was the same age as him. Naruto roared in anger, which made her flinch, and he used that moment to disarm her, followed by a vicious kick that sent her sprawling to the ground. Covered in blood and guts, eyes ablaze with righteous fury and tanto dripped with red blood of his enemies, he charged towards his new enemy to end her life. He roared as he raised his weapon to stab her and stopped, for she was crying. Pure, crystal-like tears ran down her fair and chubby cheeks, her green eyes staring at him with fear and a pleading. His hands shook as he saw her cry, a girl the same age as him, and he wanted to kill her. But then he noticed the Senju emblem on her armor and remembered her clansmen killing 2 of his brothers minutes ago. Tsunade, he looked up to see 4 angry young boys charging towards him. There was murder in their eyes as they saw Naruto's Tanto hovering above the little girl. With an angry snarl, Naruto met those four head-on, ignoring the defeated girl. The first to meet him was a silver-haired older boy with cold eyes that made Naruto shiver as they clashed their blades. He was stronger and pushed Naruto as the remaining boys closed in for the kill. Naruto's eyes widened, for he knew he wouldn't be able to evade. He would die just like Yashiro had, until there was a wild rush of air as a shadow jumped in between, battling away the blades of the Senju. "You will not kill my brother, Senju!" yelled Izuna furiously. Naruto smiled in relief when his brother kicked away the silver-haired boy that was pushing Naruto back. The Senjus narrowed their eyes on the new enemy as Izuna shot a quick glance at his brother. "Stay behind me, Naru." The little boy nodded and took up position behind his older brother. Izuna bared his sword forward as the Senju boys surrounded them. It was the silver-haired boy who charged again, with Izuna meeting him head-on. Naruto blocked the blades from the other two boys, one with half black and half white hair, and the other with brown hair. With all his strength, Naruto pushed the two Senjus, making them stumble a little. Suddenly another older Uchiha ran inside the battle, stabbing the brown-haired Senju through the neck from behind. "Kawarama!" The Senju crumpled to the ground as his oldest comrade, a boy of 10 with jet black hair, stabbed the older Uchiha in the chest with an anguished cry. The sudden death startled the fighters of both sides, including Izuna. Blood flew in the air as the silver-haired Senju swiped Izuna's sword away and stabbed him in the chest. Naruto cried for his brother, who grunted and punched his attacker, sending him stumbling away. The mixed-haired Senju boy tried to attack Izuna again, only to receive a swift strike across his eye that sent him crashing away, screaming in pain. Naruto ran towards his brother, managing to catch him in his little arms as they both fell to the ground. "Izuna!" The Senjus were already hovering near their dead comrade and the injured one who just lost an eye courtesy of Izuna's blade. Izuna coughed blood and gingerly pressed his trembling hand towards his chest, only to see it return soaked in blood. "His blood!" "Izuna!" cried Naruto. The second son of Taijima hazily glanced at his brother, who was crying hysterically. Izuna coughed but managed to smile and lay his bloodied hand on his sweet brother's cheek. It was all getting so dark, the noises of battle fading away, and only his brother's cries filled Izuna's ears. He glanced at the boy whom he had loved more than anything in life and smiled. "Be happy, little brother." Naruto froze when his brother's hand fell from his cheek. His chest went still and his eyes closed, with that smile permanently etching across his face. "Izuna-nisan, get up please. I won't go outside the walls. I'll do whatever you say, please," he cried, but Izuna didn't answer. He shook his brother again and again, only to receive silence. Naruto gave out an anguished scream and buried his head in his brother's bloodied chest, his heavy sobs making his little body tremble, the noises of battle being blacked out. He cried so hard, he screamed, but Izuna never answered. "No!" He hesitantly looked up with his blood-stained face to see Madara standing a few feet away with a horrified expression etched across his own bloodied face. The eldest son of Taijima roared as a wave of chakra was unleashed from his body, sending every nearby warrior to their knees. The anger in Madara's eyes was enormous as he charged and sliced the nearest Senju in half. The younger Senjus who had attacked Naruto started backing away, carrying their dead and injured comrades farther away. Naruto saw dozens of older Senju had zeroed down on Madara and the threat he posed, and they were charging towards him. With strength he didn't think he ever had, Naruto got up and charged towards his last brother. He was not strong as his brothers, but he was faster than them, a skill he displayed as he sailed past older warriors, slashing their legs with his tanto mercilessly. Madara wreaked carnage across the battlefield, killing anything and anyone in his way with his sword, with large fireballs and shuriken jutsu. Naruto protected his furious brother's rear with the help of other Uchihas who joined the carnage with righteous fury. To Madara, the Uchihas rallied to that battle cry, with Naruto in the front of the new charge, following the lead of his eldest brother. It was as if a tidal wave had been unleashed as lines upon lines of Senju warriors were cut down. Madara's fury knew no bounds and no shinobi could stand against him. Those who tried lost their lives instantly. Naruto didn't know how long he fought, or how many he killed, or how many of his own clansmen died in the charge. He was so angry and hurt. Another horn sounded across the battlefield, and seconds later the Senju started to flee deep within the forests where they came from. "Run, tree huggers!" yelled an Uchiha. "Victory! Fire and blood!" Naruto slumped to the ground gracelessly and lay there motionless. He felt a pain in his left arm and the left cheek of his face. But he didn't care, for Izuna was dead, Yashiro and Inabi too, his brothers. Many Uchihos huddled around him and lifted him on their shoulders, calling him a hero, the young dragon, the brave. However, they had to clear a way as Madara came charging back with desperation evident in his eyes. His eyes finally zeroed in on his youngest and last living brother, and he ran towards them. Naruto was still numb when he felt himself being lowered to the ground moments before a strong pair of arms grabbed him in a fierce hug. He slowly looked up to see it was Madara, who had tears falling from his eyes. Whatever differences the two brothers had in life were drowned in the pain they felt in this moment. Naruto slumped in Madara's arms and cried as his brother held him. It was this scene upon which Taijima Uchiha arrived and saw the gasps along with stunned looks on the faces of his clansmen. His own eyes widened on seeing his eldest and youngest son hugging each other fiercely, crying tears of sorrow. "Impossible," whispered Taijima, as he stared into the eyes of his sons. They were red with Tomo's. The Sharingan was reborn. Madara walked silently with the rest of his clan as they saw the gates of their hometown approaching. The Uchihas were in a great mood, having achieved their single largest victory in a decade, and most of all having witnessed their famous bloodline being reborn. That had been the single reason that overwhelmed the losses they suffered. They might have achieved victory, but the price was too high. Madara had set out for battle with 300 of his clansmen and 4 of his brothers. Now he returned back with less than half of that army and the bodies of his 3 precious little brothers. His only solace was the fact that he hadn't lost all his siblings. His youngest brother was still in this world, and that gave Madara the strength to fight and protect him. He and Naruto had never been the best of friends, but after losing what they had, Madara couldn't help but be worried for the little boy. He was all Madara had left apart from their power-hungry father, who hadn't blinked an eye on seeing the bodies of 3 of his sons. They died with honor, and their sacrifice gave us the Sharingan back. There is no need to shed any tears, boys. Madara couldn't help but sigh in satisfaction on seeing his father sporting one black eye courtesy of Naruto. The little boy who had acted so meek and submissive his entire life had been enraged on hearing his father say such a thing when Azuna's corpse was not even cold yet. He had jumped before Madara could stop him. Even Taijima had never anticipated such a move until Naruto proved he was the blood of the dragon, and Taijima had enraged him. Taijima had not taken the insult kindly, and tried to hit his son back, only to freeze to see the level of hatred and anger in those little Sharingan eyes. That hesitance had given Madara the time to pull his brother back and apologize on his behalf. The young dragon. Madara looked at his brother silently walking by his side, carrying with him the jar that held the ashes of their 3 brothers. The boy was so silent, his eyes so vacant, a permanent melancholy look etched in his young face. Madara had only watched the corpses of his brothers, but Naruto was the one who watched them die one after another in front of his eyes. Izuna's death had broken something in him, and yet it had ignited something dangerous as well. He was brought out of his thoughts by the roars and cheers from the mass of people waiting for them. Despite what he had suffered in the past week, Madara couldn't help but feel relief flood him at the sight of his home and his people. Taijima nodded at the cheers and started giving quite a promising speech of many more victories against the Senju. And when he introduced the rebirth of Sharingan among his 2 sons, the entire clan gasped. Madara was stunned to see the cheering that erupted on the announcement, which was even greater than the one of their victory. Some older and younger clansmen actually teared up on realizing their beloved Sharingan was back in their blood. It was a historical occasion, and his father was basking in all that praise and glory, his dark eyes shining with even greater ambition. He then pointed towards his 2 sons. My 2 sons achieved victory for us, and together they shall help our house conquer the whole world. Today before the gods, pledge your loyalty and service to Madara Uchiha the invincible dragon, and Naruto Uchiha the young dragon, the future of House Uchiha. Madara's eyes slightly widened when without hesitation his entire clan knelt as he stepped forward. When he activated his Sharingan, he saw all their hopes and dreams with his new eyes. They were trusting him to win their lost glory back and get them justice, and he would not fail them. He looked at his father and saw the man staring at him with absolute pride and confidence. Madara remembered seeing his brothers and his clansmen dying at the hands of those bastard Senjus, and felt his anger along with determination rise. I will bring fire and blood to the Senjus, he roared, raising his sword in the air. The clan roared alongside him and praised him over and over. It was then time for his brother to step forward, the baby of their family, one who was always overlooked by the clan but now was the center of their attention. But one look in Naruto's eyes showed Madara his brother was different. His next words proved that. We lost nearly 150 of our people in this battle, including 3 of my brothers, said Naruto sadly, as Taijima felt his blood boil. The people will sing songs about their sacrifice, rebuffed Taijima, and saw the disappointment in his son's eyes. Yes. But my brothers and our dead warriors will never hear them. That struck each and every person of their clan as they stared at the numerous jars containing the ashes of their fallen. The excitement died down as people realized the price that was paid, and Naruto stepped forward. We fought without strategy like wild animals. We fought without armor, believing in our superiority. We are powerful warriors, but we are men as well. We bleed and die just like the Senju. If not for the sacrifice of my brothers and Madara and Aisan's courage, we would have lost, explained Naruto honestly, much to the shock, horror and bitterness that emerged in their people. That's enough, boy, growled Taijima. He was utterly silenced when Naruto activated his 2 Tomo Sharingan and glared at him. The boys swiftly turned towards their people, who were just given a tight slap of reality, destroying every plan Taijima had made for the near future. One victory does not make us conquerors. This war is far from over, and if we are to defeat the Senju, we have to fight smarter. We have to outsmart them both on the battlefield and off it as well. We are Uchiha, the strongest and most noble house of this world. We are the blood of the dragon, and together we shall regain all that we have lost, but only if we fight together, only if we learn from our mistakes. The little boy yelled like the dragon he was. Stunned silence prevailed as Naruto unleashed his Tanto to raise it in the air. The sheer amount of determination and courage in those Sharingan eyes drew the complete attention of the entire clan, much to Taijima and Madara's surprise. Are you with me? Madara feared his brother had spoken too much truth their people were not ready to hear. But he was proven wrong when there was movement from amongst the warriors who had fought on the battlefield. Madara recognized the 3 boys who were the first to kneel, followed by several dozen others. Naruto-sama speaks truly and I believe him. My sword is yours to command, now and always, promised Shursui Uchiha, earning a nod from the surprised young boy who had not expected any support. I pledge my life to you, young dragon, promised Itachi Uchiha. The last boy raised his sword, making the rest of the clan follow swiftly. The young dragon, yelled Kagami Uchiha. Naruto remained still, watching his people pledge him their loyalty fully without any hesitation. Taijima was fuming, but it was Madara whose eyes widened as he saw a glimpse of someone in his little brother, Izuna. His youngest brother was not weak, for he had inherited Izuna's will. And as the eldest, Madara had to protect him, for Naruto was his youngest and only brother from this day. With a smile, Madara joined his people to support his brother for the first time in his life. Taijima watched his young son standing alone near the lake. It was a far cry from the inspiring leader who had started to win the support of their people. Madara was starting to gain popularity among the older generation, but Naruto had also developed quite a following among the younger ones, with the heirs of 3 powerful Uchiha families pledging their lives to him. Naruto was different. He always had been from the moment he learned to speak. That boy, he is something else, isn't he? Asked a soft voice. Taijima turned to face his only sibling still left in this world. Naori was still beautiful as ever, with long flowing purple hair that reached her waist. Her skin was fairer than that of Taijima's, and her hourglass figure had made her quite desired by many in their clan. Yet she had not married despite reaching the age of 19. He himself was only 26 years old, which was quite old in their world where not many lived past the age of 30 due to the constant warfare. His sister had inherited all the grace and beauty of their mother, while Taijima had followed his own father to become the current leader of their house. Naori had been a fighter once until she lost her only lover against the Sarutobi clan. It made her lose the will to fight, and she retired. But despite Taijima's worries, she had proven herself quite useful by managing the administration of their clan. She was also the representative of their clan among their few allies and was often away for months to keep those alliances breathing, and he only allowed himself to relax around her. So when she placed her hand on his arm and hugged him, Taijima didn't resist. For only now, when it was just him and his sister, did he allow himself to remember his 3 sons who had perished. They had died as true shinobi, and he would make sure their sacrifice would be remembered by their people. I'm sorry, brother, she whispered sadly. Do not dishonor my sons, Naori warned Taijima, but his tone was either harsh or cold. They were boys, brother. He gently broke the hug and looked at her closely. She should be already married by now, giving birth to their next generation. But then again, his sister had always been a wild one, and only her lover's death had stolen her fire. In that way, she was not much different from Naruto, as they both did what they wanted. She touched his swollen eye and laughed as he told her Naruto had hit him. Taijima's eyes twitched. You find this funny? He growled irritatedly. You only have yourself to blame, brother. Never provoke a dragon, much less an enraged one, she chastised, glancing at her nephew who brooded all alone. Taijima scoffed. He's young and foolish. She looked at him pointedly for such a long time until he finally sighed and admitted another true fact. But he has a sharp mind. He infuriates so much, but he is a dragon indeed. I never thought my youngest would awaken our prized eyes, and it gives me hope for him. But he is terrible with ninjutsu, said Taijima bitterly. He narrowed his eyes when his dear sister got that same amused twinkle in her eyes. Brother, you can be quite dense at times, she teased. Watch it, he warned, as she raised an eyebrow. Or what? You'll harm me? Your only sister. Taijima grit his teeth so hard but didn't say anything else. Because she was right. Despite the faults of their house, their one great quality was that they truly cared about the ones dearest to them. It had often led them to great follies and suffering, but it had also kept the Uchiha stronger. The Senjus were not the only ones who knew love for their own kind. The Uchihas simply found it difficult to express such emotions due to their rigid customs and hard-hearted society. And it was more evident to Taijima with his relationship with Naruto. Madara is your heir and the right one to lead the clan in the future. But he'll need his brother, now more than ever. However, the boys are different. You take Madara under your tutelage, and I'll take Naruto under mine, she offered. No. They are my sons, and I will train them, he said firmly. But she simply pointed at his blackened eye gifted to him by his youngest son. Young dragons are dangerous creatures, brother. You have done well by Madara and the rest of your sons, but Naruto is wild. He is more like me, and the more you try to suppress him, the more he'll rebel and burn everyone around him. He needs a different touch, she insisted, as he grunted. You'll only make him more soft. The icy stare he received from his sister made him regret his words. A large portion of his power came from the alliances and trade relationships she maintained for their house, bringing in money, resources and support that helped them fight against the Senjus. Naori was gentle and kind but was ruthless to those who crossed her, including her brother. I'm sorry, he said reluctantly. She gave him an easy smile that made his bitterness go away. Naori never gloated about the power she held in her hands and was simply content in supporting him from the shadows provided he gave her the respect she deserved. They were completely different, but that didn't make him love her any less. Fine. Handle the boy. Gods know I cannot, he muttered, earning a brief chuckle from her. I promise, brother. Madara found him still sitting near that lake even after the moon had arrived in the cloudy sky. The little boy tensed on sensing the approaching presence but relaxed a little on seeing it was his older brother. He took a seat beside the boy who still didn't say a word, so Madara pressed a lunchbox in his arms. Eat, he insisted. I'm not hungry, protested Naruto, and noticed a similar lunchbox in his older brother's lap. Madara's eyebrows twitched at the defiance, but then again he had not expected anything else. His brother was stubborn, after all. Izuna would have known how to make him accept, but he was gone now, and now it left Madara the responsibility of looking after this child. Fine. Then I'm not eating either, he growled, and threw his lunchbox in the lake. Naruto's eyes comically widened as he gasped, which soon turned into an angry growl as he glared at his brother. An act that would have seemed alien to him not a few days ago, but they were not the same boys anymore. Baka, Aniki! He spat, which only made Madara grin wide as he laid himself down flat on the wooden bridge. If you don't want to eat, fine. But I'm not eating either without you. I don't care. Madara chuckled at Naruto's childish rant as he cursed him several times. It made him forget the pain of missing his dead brothers. And maybe Naruto felt the same. Still, Naruto proved his stubbornness by not touching his lunchbox Madara brought for him. That was until his stomach growled loudly. The boy's cheeks flushed red as he looked away from Madara's laughing face. He affectionately ruffled the boy's hair in an effort to make him look back. Izuna, I said I don't. His voice died in his throat as he saw it was Madara staring back at him with sadness in his eyes. The two brothers went silent for several long moments until Naruto opened the lunchbox and offered the refreshing food to Madara. The boy was still not meeting Madara's eyes, but the gesture said it all. With a smile, Madara picked up the spoon and grabbed the rice. But instead of eating it himself as Naruto wanted, he presented the food to the boy. Naruto gave him a glare in return, but Madara didn't budge. The aroma of fresh food was too much for the small child who had not eaten anything since morning, and he finally took his first morsel. They ate in silence, with Madara helping Naruto eat, and doing the same for himself. It gave him peace and forget about his own pain as he focused on his sibling. But Naruto's next question surprised him. Brother, is there a way to bring them back? A jutsu? A technique? Asked the hopeful child, looking at his prodigal brother with such desperation that made Madara sad. They're all gone, Nere. I'm sorry. He truly felt awful for dashing the boy's hopes, but Madara himself knew it was not possible. Their brothers were dead, their bodies reduced to ashes as custom demanded. I miss them, he whispered. Even Inabi and Yashiro? Asked Madara curiously, knowing the twins had not been kind to the boy. Yes. They were my brothers, all of them. Madara's heart melted on hearing those simple words, and he put the lunchbox aside to wrap his arm around his young brother to bring him close. To his surprise, Naruto didn't relent and buried himself in Madara's side. I miss them too. And I am sorry for not being there for you, said Madara, now realizing he had been wrong in ignoring his little brother for so long. Naruto didn't say anything, which made Madara panic. Just don't leave me. Madara fought back his own tears as he gripped his little brother even more closer. Never, he promised. Yet even as he said that, an amused grin arrived on his lips, one which Naruto didn't fail to notice. Quit getting depressed and brooding all the time, or I'll bonk you on the head, teased Madara, only to receive a smirk from his brother. How will you even hit me when you're fat and slow? Madara blinked and looked at his own body to actually see if he had gained some weight, only to find his normal lean and fit body. He also realized the weight of his brother on his side disappearing, followed by a little rock hitting his head. Madara's eyes twitched on seeing his little brother standing in the lake, laughing his ass off at the trick he had played on his older brother. You brat! Naruto yelped as Madara roared and charged after him. He ran faster and faster, but Madara finally jumped on him, making them lose their chakra control as they both ended up crashing into the cold lake. He swam back to the surface and gasped fresh air, only to see Madara waiting for him. He gulped, but his brother laughed, and Naruto laughed alongside him, forgetting about the pain in their respective hearts. Unknown to both brothers, Naori and Taijima smiled from their position in the trees. Next day, Naruto was surprised on seeing her. He barely had hazy memories of his aunt in his short life. He remembered her flowery scent and kind eyes, her telling him stories at nights even if those occasions were rare and few. He remembered crying for her when she was gone. Izuna had said she would come back someday, but he had not believed it, and he had forgotten about her, which made him feel guilty. At least her smile was kind and welcoming as she gently cupped his cheek. You've grown up quite a lot, she commented. Hi. Naori frowned at his obedient reply. It was not the nephew she remembered, but then again she had been away for nearly 2 years, and knowing Taijima, this boy would have rarely had any interactions with the opposite sex. She cursed her rigid brother again because her task had been made only more tougher. It would have been nice if this awkwardness didn't exist between them. Since you have awakened your Sharingan, Taijima has seen fit that I take over your training while he does the same for Madara, she said patiently, as his face fell. Oh, was all he said, unable to hide feeling betrayed for his father ignoring him again in favor of his older brothers. But he shouldn't have expected anything else. Naori knelt to his level and gently grabbed his cheeks, making him look in her eyes. She found it hard to believe that there was so much kindness still left in him despite what he had seen. He wanted to train you both together, but I asked you for myself, she said with a smile, as his eyes widened in surprise and a flare of hope. It pained her to see him grasping for little crumbs of affection and care from his own family, but it only made her more determined to change this mistake. Really, Obasan? Asked Naruto, and saw her eyebrows twitch at the term he used. She was freaking 19, yes. And you'll call me Naori only, she informed, but she poked his forehead, earning a yelp followed by a scowl from him, which turned into a mischievous grin as he did the same to her with his little finger. Naori grinned on seeing his triumphant expression. Maybe her wild nephew was still alive in there after all. I'm glad you are back. I miss you, he said happily. So am I. She hugged him, thinking her own child would have had the same brown hair as him if Itami had lived. It pained her every day thinking about her dead lover and the family they had wanted to have. When they parted, she presented him with a slip of paper which he looked at curiously. What is it? He asked. Taijima told me about your problems with fire ninjutsu. He cringed and looked away in shame, but she gripped his hand, making him look back at her. It's not necessary for everyone to have the same chakra types. Not all Uchiha are fire masters, she suggested, earning a frown from him. But I'm a dragon. She laughed kindly at his silly remark. Her clan's obsession with hailing themselves as descendants of that mythical creature who may or may not have existed was quite strong. Well, little dragon. Then I'd like you to pour your chakra into the paper, she instructed. Why? He gulped when her eyebrows twitched in annoyance, but unlike his twin older brother, she didn't bonk him on the head. Just do it, please. You'll be surprised. Okay. He hesitantly poured some of his chakra into the strange paper, clearly worried and excited about the results. He frowned when half of the paper became wet and the other half wrinkled. Looking back at his aunt, he saw she seemed quite surprised. What does it mean? He asked curiously. It means you are a water and lightning type user. You can still use the other 3 types of chakra and their jutsu, but it will be challenging. But water and lightning are your strength, something you can truly master, she explained. But shouldn't an Uchiha be a fire user? Questioned Naruto with a frown. Silly, if all of us were fire users, then it would be easy for the enemy to defeat us. We need to have diversity in our ranks and the attacks. Madara is an exceptional fire and wind user. With this, you can complement your brother on the battlefield and have his back. Naori saw that her careful explanation had an impact on him as his frown disappeared. He still wanted to master fire, but linking his ability over water and lightning to that of protecting his older brother had made him more accepting of his different power. What type are you? Fire and lightning. But I know some good water jutsu as well, however mastering them will be your job. But I don't see why with your Sharingan you can have much difficulty. Then let's get to work. Naori blinked when he yelled excitedly before running towards the lake to start his training. Gods, the boy was hyperactive, but it could also prove beneficial for his training. What she had also wanted to tell him was that apart from his training in combat, she would also be taking over his teaching in matters of clan politics and art of diplomacy. Something which Taijima could not teach his sons in 1,000 years. Madara did not have the patience or tact for the soft skills, he was more of a warrior. But Naruto had a way with words, and this ability, if molded properly, could prove beneficial to their clan in the future. Madara would be the next leader of their clan, but if the Uchiha were to win, he would need his diplomatic and reasonable brother to gather new allies and also turn lost ones back to their side. It was the only way they could weaken and defeat the Senju. With those thoughts in mind, Naori walked towards her nephew, in whom she could see her successor. Naori watched in surprise as her nephew followed her hand seals perfectly without a single mistake. His dark red eyes intently staring at her movements and capturing them magnificently. She had heard stories about the Sharingan and its power, but now she was seeing it in reality. She launched a small water dragon in his direction, and he replicated her action by launching a smaller version of his own water dragon. The two beasts clashed ferociously, but his power over water won out as her beast was defeated. Still, she didn't give him any rest by charging in straight for him. Their blades clashed next, and she put in a lot of her strength, yet he parried her blows with ease. He didn't try to overwhelm her, for it was pointless due to her superior strength, but his speed was dangerous. He knew he was smaller, and was using it to his advantage by aiming for her legs and even her sexual organ. Ruthless. Suddenly he went for her legs, making her jump in the air in reflex. That was when she made the mistake of gazing in his eyes. She froze. The next second a blade was pointed at her heart, and his triumphant grin clearly visible on his face. I win. Is that so? He froze as her voice resonated from behind him, and a sharp blade was pointed at his neck. The Naori in front of him vanished into smoke. Shadow clone. Damn it! He cursed, earning a bop on the head. You did well. But you lack experience. Don't get cocky. Just because you have the Sharingan, for your enemy will always have their own tricks. And always make sure you take an enemy's head off on first chance. Limbs and organs can be lost, yet they cannot stop a warrior from fighting. But a head gone would be their end, she warned, removing her kunai from his neck. He turned back to see her soaked from head to toe, her long purple hair completely wet, and her dress hugging tightly to her womanly figure. He blushed and looked away. Naori raised an eyebrow at his reaction even more when he turned away. Naruto, what are you doing? She asked seriously. Well, it's not honorable to, he stuttered, making her grin. Who would have thought the little brat had decency unlike most males of her clan? But his honor was his flaw and could get him killed. Have you seen a woman naked? She inquired, wondering what her brother had trained his boys in. Kunoichi had been the death of many great warriors with their seduction. No. It's gross. She couldn't hold back her laugh on hearing his comment. Such a child, One day he would regret saying such a thing and say the opposite. Naori was sure, but that was for another time. Yet she couldn't resist her chance to tease him more. He was adorable. Why do you think so? She could feel him scowl on being prodded further on this uncomfortable topic. So she sweetened the deal. Answer me and I'll teach you something new, she offered, and he hesitantly turned back, his eyes still on the lake beneath them. The boy loved to learn more. I don't know, your chest is weird, and Inabi said you don't have. He blushed crimson, unable to finish his words despite her generous offer. Naori smirked but gently patted his head. All right. Maybe someday you will change your opinion. But always be wary of women, Naruto. They can give life but take it back as well. You are honorable in that aspect, and I want you to remain the same, for it will prevent you from making any mistakes, she warned. Hi, he replied, not understanding her full meaning but deciding to follow her advice nonetheless. She saw the afternoon sun shining brightly along with the groan of his stomach as he scratched the back of his head. Come, we'll have lunch, she offered, as his eyes lit up. Ramen? She smacked her forehead at his unhealthy obsession. Izuna had spoiled him limitlessly in this area. No, you fool. Something healthy that will allow your body to grow big and strong like Madara. You want that, don't you? She asked seriously, knowing she always had to link her demands to his benefit, or he would protest. Stubborn child, he sighed. All right, good. After that we'll have our academic lesson, she grinned. What? Midnight. Sneaking out of town had always been a fun activity for him. Managing to get past the guards who always boasted that none could enter or leave without their permission made him laugh. The only drawback was that it had made Izuna worried, which was why he didn't do this more often. But his brother was gone, and Naruto was trying to live again. He enjoyed the growing affection Madara showed towards him, and the return of his aunt had started to fill the void in his heart. Naori was kind to him but quite strict when it came to his training. She was bold and didn't hesitate in making him uncomfortable with her body, or her abhorring love of books. He still shuddered on remembering spending his entire afternoon learning about different ninja clans and their histories, who led those clans, their children's names, and what parts of the world they controlled. The information was too much for him to remember, but Naori was adamant that he learn it. When he had argued they had servants to remember such information, she had bonked him so hard that it still hurt. He had fallen in line after that, and she rewarded his cooperation by taking him to eat ice cream with her. He ran through the vast forests, enjoying the feel of cold air hitting his skin. The sound of leaves rustling and little animals scurrying away from him made him laugh. This was the true meaning of freedom. Here in the wild, he didn't have to pretend. Didn't have to mind his manners and choose each word carefully. He could say anything, do anything, and it gave him immense joy. His father didn't care where he was, and it would not matter if he was home by morning. Madara was a deep sleeper and always slept in his personal chambers, so there was no chance of his brother discovering him missing from their home. Naori was busy doing some work, and he doubted she would find the need to see him this late at night. Izuna had been the only one who worried and made sure he was in his bed at most times. Naruto stopped his run as the memory of his brother's last breath hit him again. Be happy, little brother. Madara had warned him not to dwell in sorrow too much, and being around Naori helped. Yet he also missed Izuna's smile, their ramen meals and long walks across town. He missed the piggyback rides his brother always offered him despite the frowns that earned him from the other clansmen. He fought back the tears and ran fast, uncaring of where he was stepping. Only if he had been faster, only if he had been stronger, his brothers would still be alive. Why had he been so weak? Snap! He yelped in pain as the tree branch beneath his feet broke, sending him tumbling down the small hill. He tried to catch some grip in order to stop his fall and felt terror seep in his heart as the deep valley started getting closer and closer. But there was nothing to grab. Nothing to stop his descent to death, and his heart stopped when he felt the ground going missing from beneath him. He closed his eyes, not wanting to see himself die a horrible death. It was all so dark and cold as he continued to fall. He didn't know what took over him, but he opened his eyes only to see his life flash before his eyes. All the good and bad times, the memories of his brothers, their victories and defeats, tears and joys. Maybe he would see them again soon enough. However, all those thoughts vanished from his mind as in the darkness, he saw something. It was distant but growing larger and larger. His eyes widened in horror as he saw something that stopped his heart. The pair of deep red eyes full of hatred. He stared in shock right into the pair of deep red eyes burning with so much hatred and anger. In that moment, he knew his death would be much more horrible and painful than he originally imagined. Yet even as his final moments tickled by and he approached closer and closer to the rising form hidden in the dark shadows bubbling with a monstrous amount of negativity, something within him snapped. You're the blood of the dragon. He remembered his father's words to his older brothers whenever they encountered something impossible to accomplish. Those words had always excited Inabi and Yashiro, and made Izuna as well as Madara become more bolder, but he had never understood the meaning behind those simple and silly words. Yet as death came his way, it was those same simple and silly words that gave him strength. A dragon never surrenders. A dragon never bows to anyone. A dragon fights and fights until he defeats his enemies. Grabbing twin sharp kunais from his pouch, he sent them flying towards the nearby rock walls, but not before tying ninja wire on them. For once, he was thankful of Izuna's warnings to always be prepared even if he just went out for a stroll near their clan's borders. As the weapons connected, he gripped one end of the strings that made him fly straight towards the nearby rock. When his feet connected to the hard surface, he was ready and immediately channeled chakra that made him stick firmly to the surface. He unleashed his tanto just in time as the creature beneath him growled angrily that sent tremors across the darkened valley. His eyes widened when a massive tail rose from the shadows aimed right at him. Determined to survive, he sprinted down the rock surface at speeds he never thought himself capable of. Massive chunks of rocks and debris flew over him as the tail shattered the spot where he was previously standing. His enemy was more smart than he originally thought as it continued lashing out more and more giant tails in an effort to splatter his brains, but he had always been faster than all of his brothers. And despite his wish of seeing his dead brothers again, he now realized Madara would be heartbroken if he died. His eldest brother was not bad, even if he had been distant all these years. And Madara had showed that he truly cared about him, and now he wanted to know his eldest and only living brother, to support him, to protect him just as Izuna had protected him, and for that one wish he would not give up. He would find a way to survive no matter who or what he would have to face. Going back up was not possible for the creature was hell-bent on stopping that possibility, so that left him only one choice. As the ground neared to his relief, he made a quick jump, narrowly avoiding being smashed to death courtesy of another tail. He immediately adopted his battle stance and activated his prized dojutsu, glaring out at the massive creature. And what he saw both stunned and terrified him. And it seemed he was not the only one to experience those feelings as the now revealed beast flinched as his terrifying red eyes saw its enemy. Those eyes. Its voice was even more heavy and rumbled across the empty valley as a battle cry. Despite the rising fear in his heart, Naruto gripped his tanto firmly, glaring down at the massive nine-tailed fox standing in front of him. And Uchiha. If possible, the hate and anger in the monster's eyes increased tenfold as it snarled. "Are you going to attack me again?" asked the boy in an unnervingly calm voice. The fox momentarily paused, staring at the little runt, and was surprised when the brat had not tried to flee. Either he was foolish like most kids were, especially those of his mad clan, or he was more bold than Kurama had imagined. "You're not afraid." It was just a statement from the fox, but evoked not a single reaction from the stoic boy. When the monstrous animal glared harder at the insect before him, it was then the child spoke. "I am a shinobi. I won't kill you if you let me go, but if you persist then I will fight you," answered the boy fiercely. The beast laughed. "What makes you think a stupid runt like you can even harm a scratch on me? I can crush you in a flash," brat mocked the fox. "Maybe. But I will still fight with all I've got." "Why?" asked the curious fox. "Because I don't want to die." The beast again laughed at the pitiful answer expected from every human, yet the boy's gaze unnerved him, for he either exploded in anger or even scowled. He stared back at the fox with the same determined gaze which made the fox curious. Most people would have pissed themselves, fought back, or just tried to run away. This little one had done none of that. "You will die. Either by my hands or some other moron shinobi out there. Children like you don't survive long in this world, yet you still fight." "Why?" asked the fox curiously, momentarily keeping his desire to crush the boy at bay if only to find his answer. It had been quite a while since another foolish human crossed his path or tried to attack him. "My brother would be sad if I died. And I don't want him to be sad again." "Not anymore," answered the boy quietly. The fox became silent, staring at the boy with a gaze the little Uchiha could not understand. Just when he thought the beast was about to attack again, it spoke. "You are already cursed enough to be born into that mad cult you call a clan. What's worse, you inherited these wretched eyes when I thought I would never see this power again in my life. You think they will make you powerful? All these eyes have ever brought to its wielder is misery and pain. It would actually be a mercy if I killed you here," said the fox frankly. The boy didn't say a word and only pointed his tanto forward, which made the beast scoff. "Go. I spare your pitiful life," mocked the fox. Naruto blinked in surprise, knowing that he was probably given a once-in-a-lifetime chance, something this beast would not have given to anyone else. Yet he didn't want to turn his back to the fox only to be stabbed from behind. The creature must have recognized the look, making it snarl. "I am not showing you mercy, stupid boy. Anybody who has ever wielded the Sharingan before never met a good fate. They all die screaming in pain. A day will come when you will wish that I killed you here," warned the fox. "We'll see about that," replied Naruto sharply. "Hey, you've got some balls." "Pretty impressive for a shitty little brat," said the amused fox. "I will not tell anyone about this meeting or the fact that you live here so close to our borders." "You have my word," said Naruto honestly, placing his weapon back in its sheath. When he stared back at the fox, if possible it seemed even more disappointed than before. "Not only do you belong from a mad clan, but you are an even bigger fool with that sense of loyalty and honor that you have towards your clan. Does that make you feel better?" snarled the fox, receiving an icy stare from the boy. "Maybe my family is mad and I am too. But without my loyalty and honor, what is the difference between you and me? I will fight and die for my family no matter how bad you say they are." "What do you fight for?" asked Naruto harshly. The air around them grew thick with hatred and anger as the fox looked down at the ground, hissing fiercely. "Go. Before I decide to kill you." Naruto didn't need any more warning as he jumped on the rock's surface and instantly started running back towards the surface at great speed. And as he continued to run away, he missed the fox staring back at his disappearing form with a heavy frown. Foolish boy. He didn't stop running even when he climbed out of the dark valley, his legs refusing to stop as he sailed past trees at great speed. His heart threatened to burst out of his chest, and he was sweating profusely as he continued to remember just what he had encountered moments ago. More importantly, he had survived by some truly awesome luck, for there was no way in hell he could have defeated that monster. Not even Madara, any other Uchiha, or even his own father could defeat that beast. He had felt that unending sea of vile chakra in that beast, felt its hate, the anger, the desire to murder. Not even the entire Uchiha clan combined could defeat that monster. It was the reason why he had promised not to tell the fox's location to anyone lest any idiots come out there to try to enslave the monster only to get themselves killed. If things had turned out differently, he would have been forced to fight the fox, and he would have died. There was no doubt about that. But strangely, the beast had spared his life and his words. What did he mean the Uchihas were mad? Sure, his family was too uptight and arrogant, but they couldn't be insane. He refused to believe that, no matter what that stupid fox said. The Sharingan only brings pain and misery. All he had ever heard from every single Uchiha was how great this power was, or how lucky Naruto was to awaken it. But if he could trade these eyes for his dead brothers, Naruto would do so in a heartbeat, for the pain of losing them haunted him every moment over whatever power these eyes gave him. It was not worth it. And as he realized that fact, he knew there was some bitter truth in the fox's words. And there was a hell of a lot of things Naruto didn't know about his dojutsu, his clan, or even what type of dangerous monsters lurked in the real and dangerous world. All these years he had lived a sheltered and protected life under Izuna's watch, but now that veil was dropping very fast. He had already seen the barbarism and murder humans were capable of inflicting on each other, the pain of losing your loved ones right before your very eyes, the power of hatred that could drive even the most noble or weakest man to momentary insanity, of men's unending desire for ever more power and greater ambition. Finally, he stopped as he reached the clan settlement, and the secret passage he had created for himself over the years. His head was spinning from all these overbearing thoughts, but if one thing was certain was the fact that the Uchiha clan was his family. The strange but caring Madara was his brother, attractive but strict Naori his aunt, and ambitious and cold Taijima his father. Walking towards a nearby tree, the boy knelt and placed the edge of his tanto on the grass, eyes burning intensely with determination. Izuna Yashiro Inabi. He wished to see even a ghost reflection of his lost siblings, but all he saw was the blank bark of the tree before him. I will protect them all, no matter what happens. Taking a deep breath, he said the word on which he would live his life. I promise. Next morning, Naruto was quite surprised when he received the summons and had to hastily prepare himself in order to not be late, for that man never tolerated any weakness or lethargy. It was why Naruto found himself donning his finest clan clothes and donning his newly forged armor. He was fully armed in order to be ready for the daily training session that he would definitely have with Naori afterwards, for no matter what the reason, an Uchiha trained every day. When he met the man near the holy temple, the air around them turned frosty as they both looked at each other. And then Taijima did something Naruto never saw him doing, at least with him. He smiled. But it was not one of joy or pride, but that of even greater ambition and plans that lurked in the man's eyes. Naori tells me you have potential, said Taijima frankly, directly getting to the matter without any pleasantries. Well, she's not blind, unlike few people I know, replied Naruto icily, earning a raised eyebrow from his father. Do you hate me, boy? Naruto chose not to answer and settled for giving a fierce glare which made Taijima look at their clan settlement laid out below the mountain on which the temple was situated. You've always been funny, strange and innocent. Believe it or not, I don't hate you. But I don't love you either. The barely 6-year-old boy had known this fact his entire life, but to hear it being said in words was like a sword brutally being jabbed through his heart. And it hurt, but he didn't blink, he didn't tear up, he didn't glare, he just stared. Why? He asked simply, without any accusation or expectation. Taijima's fists clenched, and for a moment Naruto saw the rare pain in those harsh eyes, something the man never did even when his sons died. You took away the one thing I ever wanted above all. You stole her from me, and nothing can ever fill the hole she left behind. The sheer amount of anger and pain present in Taijima's eyes was enough to make his youngest son realize why things had turned out this way between them. Mother, said Naruto sadly, you are so much like her that every day it hurts to see you just standing before me while she remains dead. Hikari was warned about problems with her pregnancy. I told her to abort to keep her safe. But she chose to give you life, forsaking her own. I loved her more than anything in this world, even my sons. But why do you think she chose to die? Asked Taijima harshly. Naruto found it hard to stop himself from tearing up knowing that his mother died for him. It hurt worse than the scorns and ignorance from his family all these years, for it made the hatred his brothers had shown towards him and the distance his father kept from him justifiable. For he killed the one thing they all loved. I don't know, he replied sadly. It's the family name that lives on, it's all that matters. Not you, your honor, or your beliefs. We all serve the clan and the ones above our station. I want you to stop acting like a fool and become the man you were meant to be. Not tomorrow, or the day after now, said Taijima seriously, looking his son right in the eye. If I do that, will things change between us? Asked Naruto, his voice barely above a whisper. Never. Naruto lowered his gaze to the ground but was stopped when a hand was placed on his shoulder, making him look back at his father. But I can be proud of you. He saw nothing but plain honesty reflected in those dark black eyes. This man would never love him, and yet, you're my son, you've always been my son no matter what either of us feel. I will do my duty towards you, but I expect you to do yours as well. For a man to rule, he must sometimes do unpleasant things to his enemies and allies like, but it also earns him wrath just the same. I am able to rule well because Naori does things that may not be possible for me to do. She keeps our clan running from the shadows. You are the younger son, and as such it will be your duty to support Madara, who shall succeed me in the same way that Naori supports me now. That is your job, do that with all you've got and you will make me and this clan proud. Do you understand, Naruto? Asked Taijima seriously. Naruto nodded, looking right back at his father. I will never love you, father. But Madara is my brother, my only brother I still have. And there is nothing in this world that I wouldn't do for him, promised Naruto fiercely, earning a cold smirk from the older man. You are an Uchiha, alright, but you will give me what I want. No questions asked, demanded Naruto. If it is within my power to give and if you do your duty well, then you will get all you want. I promise you that, said Taijima honestly. Sparing a final nod, Taijima watched as his son walked away proud and tall, but he never saw the silent tears that fell from the young boy's eyes. Days flew away as quick as the wind, weeks passed in the blink of an eye, turning into long months. All the while Naori had stood watching as the boy she adored changed right before her very eyes. Where once shined innocence and joy, was now replaced by a permanent harsh and grim gaze. When he once complained of reading and writing, but now he did what she asked him to without any questions. He did what he was commanded to without blinking an eye. He did one thing and one thing alone. He learned. She had never seen an Uchiha pour so much passion in their training before. Day and night he practiced until he collapsed from exhaustion. It was as if he was possessed by something that drove him forward and forward. In a span of 6 months, he who was once weak now stood as one of the finest water and lightning-style ninjutsu fighters. His genjutsu had become even more dangerous with his Sharingan, and while his taijutsu was average, unlike Madara, who was a monster in that arena, Naruto was the finest swordsman Naori had seen in the entire new generation of Uchihas. He was quick as the wind and flexible like a snake, and when he attacked he would carve his enemies in half. No hesitation, no fear, no mercy. He laughed, he joked, he smiled, but the light in his eyes was gone. And it broke her heart, for Naruto had been the only one who had shown her a new possibility the Uchihas could take. He was different, but someone had crushed his spirit in an irreversible way. She had tried talking to him, urged him to open up, but he was always made some silly excuses or said everything was fine. But it wasn't. She had confronted Taijima, for her brother could be the only one capable of reducing Naruto to this state, but all she had gotten in reply was denial of any involvement of Taijima in this matter. Naori knew it was a lie, but she had no proof and her brother was difficult enough already. However, things were not so dark despite everything. For once in a while, she would catch a glimpse of the old and true Naruto, the kind and gentle boy around Madara. It made her happy to see those two get along better than ever. Madara, despite his busy schedule as clan heir, did his very best to spend time with his brother, corrected his mistakes and always cheered him up, something which Naori could never do, much to her disappointment. And that was the only thing that gave her hope. She watched the boy seated beside her as they both observed the setting sun in the sky. Are you afraid? Tomorrow is a big day for you, she said gently. I am ready, he said, holding his new sword firmly in his right hand. He stiffened when a pair of gentle but strong arms wrapped around his chest from behind, followed by a deeply pleasant scent invading his senses as Naori laid her face next to his cheek. Naori. He still felt strange calling his aunt by her name, knowing it was not proper or respectful. But she had insisted to the point of bonking him on the head whenever he didn't do so. Are you all right? She asked worriedly. I am fine. He winced as she pinched his cheek rather harshly, making him glare at her, but softened on seeing the look in her eyes. What am I to you, Naori? He asked, his eyes looking anywhere but at her eyes, afraid of her answer. You're my nephew, my student, my friend. Why do you ask that? She asked with a frown. Please don't lie to me. Just tell me what you really want from me. You didn't just spend all these months training me for nothing. I am the younger son, a spare. Someone important like you would never bother with someone like me unless they want something, he said honestly. The slap that hit his cheek sent a tremors down his entire body, and when he looked back at her, Naruto couldn't help but flinch on seeing the raw fury and hurt in her eyes. How dare you say that? She hissed furiously. Nothing is free in this world, Naori. Everybody always wants something, be they father, the clan, or you. Nobody cared about me for all these years, but now that I have the Sharingan and 3 of my brothers are dead, suddenly everyone starts taking an interest in me. All they want is my power and what I can do for them, maybe except for Madara. So please just tell me what you want, he requested, unable to hide his sadness. She stared wide-eyed at this child, unable to hide her shock or pain on hearing him say such cruel things. What pained her even more was the fact most of it was all true. Naruto, you're my family? I don't need anything from you, she whispered, and flinched when he glared back. You abandoned me. A faint memory of a 3-year-old young boy with tears in his eyes came haunting back in her heart. Even after all these years she had never forgotten the hurt and pain in those young eyes, or the sight of that child crying himself to exhaustion in Izuna's arms as she walked away from their lives to fulfill the duty towards their clan. It had been the right thing to do, the necessary job to keep the Uchiha still in the game of power, but never had she thought the hurt it would bring to that one boy. She had thought him young, that he would forget her, but he never did. The only thing I had in this world was Izuna and you. Then you just walked away, never looking back. You never loved me, did you? But it's okay, I killed my own mother and my brother, so it's okay. But why does it still hurt? He asked painfully, clutching his heart with his small hands. What? Naori stared in horror and eyes full of tears as he got out of her embrace and stared at the lake with melancholy ever present in his eyes. The very next moment a shadow plopped down beside the young boy, startling them both, and before they could even blink a hard bop connected with Naruto's head, making him wince, as he stared at the harsh glare of his older brother. You have me, you little fool, said Madara fiercely, but frowned when Naruto laughed cynically. How far will you go for me? Izuna always fought for me no matter against whom. You cannot do that, replied Naruto harshly. And what if I do? Asked Madara sternly, all playfulness gone from his eyes. Even against father? Even against our clan? Against the entire world? Naruto's eyes widened when Madara didn't blink, nor did he flinch even for a single second. His eldest brother just stared right into his eyes. I will burn the entire world if it makes you happy and keeps you safe, promised Madara. Why? Asked Naruto sadly, tears brimming in his young eyes. Strong arms wrapped around his smaller form, pulling him into what was the most fiercest embrace of his life. He felt himself crushing, but oddly it only served to lessen his pain as Madara whispered in his ear. Because I can't do this without you. You are my youngest brother, my last brother. If I lose you too, then there is nothing left for me to fight for. And no matter what happens, little brother, I will protect you. Against our enemies, our own clan, and even father. Anybody who threatens you will have to go through me first, and I will kill them all. Naruto stared in shock into those Sharingan eyes as Madara looked back at him with such affection that it warmed his own cold heart. You promise? He asked hesitantly. Want me to pinky swear? Asked Madara with a smirk. Naruto burst out laughing just imagining Madara even remotely doing such a thing. However, he was cut short when Madara again bopped him on the head. But if you continue getting depressed like this, I'll kill you myself, warned Madara. Hi, Papa Bear. Madara's eyebrows twitched violently, and he cursed loudly when Naruto bolted out of his arms right across the lake with a mischievous grin on his face. Naori blushed furiously when Madara shamelessly removed his pants and ran after Naruto, yelling out a series of curses while spraying his special water right behind his now terrified brother, who also started yelling out a series of unique curses while trying his very best not to get drenched in the shower Madara threatened to unleash on him. All the while Madara continued laughing maniacally. She couldn't help but realize the fact that Taijima had destroyed his own family. But fate had not been totally cruel, as she saw hope not just for Naruto, but for her entire clan and these two boys. Together they could do anything in this world. And maybe it was time for her to amend her own past mistakes, and to cherish the one thing that truly mattered in this world: family. She was fortunate enough to still have one in this cursed world of never-ending warfare. But those amends would have to wait as she settled for watching her amusing nephews bicker with each other. However, she had not missed the lingering darkness in them both. More so, in Madara's case, if that promise he just made was any indication. That boy was far more powerful than anyone in his generation or the several ones that came before him. One day he could possibly be powerful enough to even defeat the Senju, but in those powerful eyes she had also seen a great weakness. Madara loved too much, and he truly cared about his youngest and last brother. Naori could only pray these two boys didn't lose each other, for the madness that would follow after such a calamity would destroy both the Uchiha and the world. Next day, the fateful day had come, probably the most important one in the life of every Uchiha that ever lived, for it was today it would be decided whether they were one of the group or liabilities required to be cast aside. It was Naruto's judgment day. The young boy stood near the lake fully armed and ready with a determined look in his eyes. Almost the entire clan had gathered to watch his rite of passage. For not only was he a future possible clan leader if Madara or Taijima died, but he also had the famed Sharingan. And for many who had not witnessed that holy power in battle before, this was a golden chance. Conflict had reduced considerably after their critical victory over the Senjus 6 months ago, with both great clans taking a step back, leading to a strange momentary peace. Madara would still go out on small missions, but only with a small squad, leaving the rest of the clan to starve to see the Sharingan in battle. And now their wish would be fulfilled, but Naori knew it had only increased Naruto's problems. While he would have to face an established and recognized younger member of their clan, mostly near to his age in combat, to either defeat them, or at least show a fight worthy enough to be considered strong. That would make Naruto a true Uchiha, and an adult despite being only 6 years old. It was a daunting task for every child, but Naruto stood strong because Madara was there watching him like a hawk. The presence of his older brother had stopped any whispering or jabs that were usually thrown at the fighters by the crowd. But everyone's eyes widened when a fully armed Taijima was the one who started walking towards Naruto. "Father, what is the meaning of this?" asked Madara furiously. "I will be his opponent," declared Taijima, earning gasps from their clansmen as murmuring began in the crowd furiously. "That is unfair and against the rules, father. Choose someone near his age just as the law demands," argued Madara, his temper rising at the injustice about to inflict it on his younger brother. Taijima glared. "I make the rules, boy. And you will obey me." Taijima and the entire clan flinched when in the blink of an eye there was a sword placed at the clan head's neck by none other than Madara himself, who had pure murder shining in his eyes. "Long have I watched you inflict injustice on him. Not anymore, promised Madara, you fool. Can't you see that I am doing this for you? I'll give a good show to make sure he passes, but also show that he is not as strong as you. The clan cannot be divided between two brothers, only you shall lead the clan and not him, hissed Taijima angrily. Naruto will never betray me, nor has he ever desired power, said Madara confidently, staring right into his father's cold eyes. Foolish boy. Maybe your brother doesn't want that, but if he proves himself strong today, then his followers will grow day by day. There are already many in the clan that admire him, and they will one day push Naruto to overthrow you if only to satisfy their own goals. That kind of rivalry will tear the clan apart, and I will not have that. I know the game of power better than you, so fall in line. This is my final warning, said Taijima icily, ready to thrash the boy if he persisted. But Madara didn't relent as his Sharingan activated. Naori was already moving towards her brother and nephew to stop the conflict, while the crowd grew only more entranced by the spectacle. I will fight him. To everyone's surprise and Madara's horror, it was Naruto who said that by unleashing his sword and pointing it at his father. Naruto, this is my fight, Nisan. Believe in me, he requested, staring gratefully at his perplexed older brother. Much to Taijima's surprise, Madara lowered his sword but didn't walk away without a warning. If you do him injustice, then consider my support towards you gone. Taijima was about to discipline the insolent boy, but Naori's pleading eyes and the stares of the entire clan stopped him. Already Naruto was corrupting the obedient and loyal Madara, and he could not have that. With fury burning in his eyes, Taijima walked towards the battle arena as both him and his son took up positions across the lake. Try not to dishonor our family, warned Taijima, and was further irritated when Naruto smirked. Could say the same thing about you, old man. This insolent brat. Without warning, Taijima attacked. Katan, Gokaki no Jutsu, Fire Release, Great Fireball Technique. A massive raging fireball was unleashed by the Uchiha Patriarch, sending it right at his young son, burning water in its way, making steam rise. Madara held his breath when Naruto simply brought his sword forward, making it glow in chakra. The older brother saw Naori smirk proudly. The next moment Naruto vanished in a swirl of leaves. Shunshin! Madara's eyes widened as through his Sharingan he saw Naruto literally carve the fireball in half with his sword and vanish out of the flaming aura with such speed that made Taijima gawk. And he was not done. Sharingan blazing, the boy weaved his hands through an intricate set of hand seals at lightning speed. Sushin, Suryuden no Jutsu, Water Release, Water Dragon Bullet Technique. Two large roaring dragons of water with hateful yellow eyes rose out of the lake and charged right at Taijima, much to the shocked clan head's worry. But experience kicked in as at the last moment Taijima made a hand seal, substituting himself with a nearby log that was available near the shore just in time as the water dragons tore through his position. Naruto whirled backwards, bringing his sword forward to clash against his father's steel as the man now appeared behind him with a fast Shunshin. And Taijima made his first mistake. For a brief second he glared hatefully right into Naruto's eyes that now burned with an active Sharingan. The clan spectators gasped when Taijima froze as Naruto disarmed him, followed by beheading the man swiftly, only for him to turn into smoke. Shadow Clone. Even with their Sharingan gone, the Uchihas were able to maintain their dominance across the world due to their skill in the ninja arts. One of their finest traits was their great prowess with ninjutsu, which had led to the development of many powerful techniques. The Shadow Clone was one of them. Only a handful of their clan could perform this forbidden jutsu, and even they could do it to a limited extent. But Naruto's family had always produced the strongest warriors among their clan. It was why they were the leaders and the others followed them. And while Taijima didn't have the Sharingan, it didn't diminish the fact that he was a powerful and dangerous shinobi. Naruto turned back and saw the real Taijima waiting for him with a proud smirk on his face. The son prepared himself as his father raised two fingers, making 4 Mizu Bunshin rise out of the lake. All armed and possessing the same bloodthirsty grins on their faces with the intent of putting their enemy in his right place. And then the clones charged. Naruto charged back. Madara was hardly grinding his teeth watching his father use so much power against Naruto. But surprisingly, the young boy was holding up quite well, in fact, if the admirable and proud glances from their clansmen was a proof. Still, it didn't make the older brother any less worried. However, he blinked in surprise when Naruto unleashed sparks of lightning from his left hand as he came near the water clones, making them scream. Within a second, Madara watched with his active Sharingan that his brother's sword carved through the paralyzed clones like butter, making them die. And then the boy jumped high in the air with a ferocious battle cry, descending down on the real Taijima. The brutal kick he received across his guts stole every ounce of air out of the boy as Taijima smirked. But the gesture soon vanished when the Naruto he just kicked dissolved into water. Mizu Bunshin, he copied my jutsu but without any hand seals, and when? More importantly, where is he? Thought Taijima quickly. He gasped when something sharp tore through the back side of his legs as the real Naruto emerged from the lake with his sword now stained with his father's blood. Taijima angrily whirled back, ready to pummel the insolent boy, only to have him easily evade the attack. Damn his Sharingan! While he was glad that his clan had the prestigious power back, it didn't change the fact that right now Taijima felt a slight disadvantage towards himself as his son continued to evade his attacks. He's trying to tire me out or waiting for an opening. When he gets one, he'll strike with his impeccable speed. Clever boy, But it ends now, thought Taijima seriously. He was already blurring through the hand seals of one of his most dangerous moves when a shadow appeared between them. Naori firmly grabbed Taijima's hand and stopped Naruto's own sword from attacking any further with the help of a kunai. Enough, she commanded icily. The fight is not over, said Taijima coldly, only to receive an equally cold look from his young sister. It is over, she ordered. Are you defying me? Asked Taijima in shock. I will not permit you to slaughter a child to satisfy your ego, Taijima. More importantly, he's my nephew and I will not allow you to do him injustice, warned Naori, even as Naruto's eyes widened on seeing her stand up to his father like that. And it was for him. The next moment Madara also jumped in between, and while he had not raised his sword like before, he looked ready enough to make a move if their father persisted. He proved himself, father. Much better than most Uchiha ever have. It's done, said Madara seriously. Taijima heatedly glared at these two and then back at Naruto, who stared back at him calmly. The boy still looked ready enough to fight but was holding himself back, deferring to whatever decision the adults would make. Then the clan head also saw the crowd, and in their eyes he saw pure admiration and pride for Naruto. All of them were also tense, waiting for the next move, which finally made Taijima sigh. He placed his sword back on the scabbard on his back and saw Naruto do the same. Father and son both walked towards each other as Naori and Madara lingered nearby just in case if things got out of hand again. Kneel. The boy obeyed and respectfully got down on one knee as Taijima removed his sword again and tapped twice on the boy's shoulder. Naruto, of the Uchiha clan, you have successfully passed the rite of passage and I hereby welcome you as a full-fledged adult member of our prestigious and noble clan. Make us all proud, commanded Taijima. Naruto thumped his clenched fist across his armored chest and looked back at his father with determination and pride burning in his eyes. I will, father. Despite everything that had happened, Naruto still felt defeated when Taijima simply walked away without another word, while for his other sons he always had some good words when they completed the same test. But his disappointment was soon shadowed behind joy as Naori and Madara came forward to congratulate him. And when Madara uplifted him on his shoulders cheering for him, with a smile Naruto watched their enthusiastic clan cheer back. It was a good day. When the pair of eyes opened again they widened in shock and disbelief as in the darkness of the valley he saw a figure waiting for him. Are you mad? Asked the giant fox in disbelief. Naruto grinned at the remark while showing off his official Uchiha clan t-shirt to the giant fox. Well, I am an adult now, so according to you I am now one of the man cult, said Naruto cheekily. Why are you here, boy? Asked the fox with a strange sadness evident in his voice. To his utter chagrin, Naruto simply ignored him and placed a few scrolls on the ground. With a single hand seal he opened them all, and to the fox's surprise there appeared so many variety of foods. I am celebrating. Was nearby, so thought you might be hungry. What the hell are you staring at? I'm not going to finish all of this by myself, said Naruto with a smile, pointing at the hunted deer, ramen, 5 types of fishes, rice and many other dishes along with beef. Why are you here? Asked the fox again, making the boy frown. It took a lot of effort to steal this food from the kitchens and I hunted this damn deer myself. Fast little thing. Why are you here? To the fox's surprise the boy walked forward until they were both an inch away from each other. Naruto looked right into those demonic eyes, this time without fear and hesitation. Not all of us are mad. The fox had barely gotten over his shock at those words and the boy's present actions when the child extended his tiny hand forward with a bright smile on his face. Naruto Uchiha, son of Taijima, brother of Madara, and second heir of the main family. The fox stared without blinking until he suddenly received a hard bop on the head, making his eyes go comically wide. It's bad manners not telling your name when someone introduces themselves to you, said Naruto with a pout. I will kill you, promised the fox angrily, but was again left speechless by the clarity and conviction that arrived in the jovial child's eyes. You would have done that when we first met. Someone powerful like you is not just hiding here in this dumbass valley so close to the Uchiha clan border without a reason. Am I right? Asked Naruto seriously. The fox stiffened, making the boy smile. It took me 6 months to figure this out, and reading a hell of a lot more books until I finally discovered the truth. You're a Biju, aren't you? A great being of chakra and power. The books called you Kyubi and said your kind disappeared thousands of years ago when the very first war broke out. Is that correct? Asked Naruto curiously. You talk too much, said the fox irritatedly. What is your name? Asked the stubborn boy, making the fox roll his eyes. They already call me Kyubi. It doesn't matter what stupid humans call me, it matters to me. For a moment the fox's eyes softened on hearing those words and the sincerity visible in this child's eyes. Perhaps the old man had been wrong. Maybe this time things could change. You're annoying, muttered the Kyubi, making the boy roll his eyes. Why, thank you. Giant stupid fox, replied Naruto with a smirk. I'll kill you, growled the beast. Please do so. I'll eat you. Why? I brought you so much good food. You're mean, said Naruto with fake tears rolling down his cheeks. Gah! Naruto chuckled when the fox roared madly out of frustration before banging his giant head on the ground, creating a minor tremor across the entire valley. Kurama, huh? Asked the boy confusedly. The fox was barely speaking in whispers. My name is Kurama, said the fox irritatedly, earning a bright smile from the boy. A nice name. It's good to meet you, said Naruto happily, and forcefully shook his tiny hand with one of the beast's massive paws. When he looked up, he saw Kurama staring at him with a strange look present in his demonic eyes. Are you not afraid of me, child? Asked the fox seriously. I was before. But for the past 6 months I have observed you from afar. You don't interact with anyone or go out for hunting. You just stay here in this dark valley sleeping. At first I thought you a lazy asshole, then I thought maybe you were protecting my clan. But none of our books mention someone like you as an ally, and then I remembered you saying that my clan has madness passed down among itself. And then I finally realized Kurama had been left gawking by the deduction of this young child, one he proved by looking the fox right in the eyes with a knowing look. You are watching my clan, waiting for something to happen. I don't know what it is, but I guess it is not pretty or good for my people, said Naruto coldly. You're a smart one. Never thought those sister fuckers would manage to create an intelligent one again, mocked the beast, making Naruto frown. Those days are long gone. Inbreeding has been reduced in our clan, and unlike our ancestors we don't kill each other now. Kinslaying is the worst crime an Uchiha can ever commit, and it is punishable by death. Maybe my clan was bad before, but we can change. Not all of us are crazy psychopaths, argued Naruto fiercely. Is that why you are here? Setting an example? Asked Kurama with a smirk. Yes. The fox laughed, but this time it didn't have the mocking edge. Instead the beast sounded amused. It won't work, boy. My vow is absolute, and I will fulfill it should that dark day ever come. Even you cannot stop me from doing my duty, warned Kurama. But still the child didn't back down. Well then, it becomes my duty to make you see my people in a different light. I'll make you change your mind, promised Naruto confidently. Quite a declaration. Not sure you can fulfill it, challenged the Biju. We won't know unless I try. With those words, the boy brought the deer forward and placed it before the fox. You're a strange child, muttered the fox in an annoyed voice. And while he had no need to eat or drink, he did grab the deer in his large jaw, if only to humor the grinning child before him. Get used to it. We're friends now. Few days later, Madara and his squad charged through the borders at top speed, anxiety and fear evident in their eyes. They had set out a few days ago to destroy a few Sarutobi that had tried to raid one of the villages protected by the Uchiha. While the monkeys had been all killed, Madara had received a distress call right from their hometown. That had been an hour ago, and he had not wasted a single second to return. His group was tired, but still they all ran as fast as they could, the fear for the safety of their families burning far and wide in their terrified hearts. Had the Senjus attacked in full force, or some other group was about to attack their borders? Madara stormed through the gates, not even glancing at the guards, his Sharingan eyes locked on the monstrous fire burning in the place where the holy Uchiha temple once stood. He took to the roofs, jumping across houses, not even looking back to see if his followers were behind him or not. After several long minutes, he arrived at the site, and what he saw stopped his heart cold. Around him were dozens upon dozens of their clansmen, many trying to put out the fire with water jutsu, while others remained motionless in horror, for there in front of them were nearly a dozen bodies, all Uchiha, men, women, even young children cut down like animals, their horrified open eyes staring blankly into the dark night. The holy grounds of their temple now ruined with the blood of their own family that soiled the once green grass and red. And in the middle of the massacre was the person being glared upon hatefully by the entire clan. The young boy of 6 sat in a wooden chair with his blood-stained sword in his hands, his Uchiha attire soiled with the blood, flesh and dirt lying around him. Madara stopped breathing when a pair of familiar eyes looked back at them all. But where there was once joy and innocence lay a fully activated Sharingan with 3 bright tomos. And when those same haunting and terrifying eyes so full of darkness looked back at him, Madara could only say one word: Naruto. Madara couldn't move, nor could he breathe, watching his young brother sitting in the midst of the massacre with that blood-stained sword in his hands. Time seemed to have stopped for the elder sibling, as either the sight of the dead bodies of his clansmen, or the chaos happening all around bothered Madara. All he could care and focus upon was the look in his brother's eyes. This was not the same brother so full of joy and innocence. One who was far more honorable and kind than most Uchihas of this generation. No, the person sitting in that chair was someone else, for in those eyes, there was hidden unspeakable horror and immeasurable pain. It could be hard to discern behind the dark glare the young boy was currently sporting, but Madara knew him better than everyone else present here, knew that his brother was stronger than every one of them, both in strength and character despite all the evidence that said otherwise. Nearly a dozen Uchiha guards fully armed marched towards the alone boy, but all stopped when the blood-stained Naruto Uchiha rose from the chair. Stop before I kill you all, warned Naruto, without a single hint of emotion in his voice. Every last one of the Uchihas sneered at him with unending hatred burning in their eyes. Kinslayer, traitor, oathbreaker, you're a monster, a man without loyalty and honor. Madara watched their father impassively standing even as his clansmen berated his own son. Taijima had no great love for Naruto, but this was going too far. As their father, why wasn't the man defending his own son? He looked back at his brother to see the same impassive gaze of their father burning in his eyes as every man and woman rained down curses on him. But none had the balls to apprehend the blood-stained boy holding his bloodied sword. However, they must have taken Naruto's silence for cowardice, as 2 older men nearly a decade older than his young brother charged forward. When they barely managed to unleash their swords, all they saw was a bright blur and screamed the next moment as blood erupted from their slashed legs. The 2 Uchiha screamed in pain, losing the grip on their weapons, falling to their knees as their hands desperately tried to stop the large gash on their legs. However, the defensive action of Naruto only seemed to make the crowd even more angry. Madara was either too shocked or horrified watching his brother taking out a kunai and throwing it a few feet ahead of him, marking a boundary that was not missed by anyone. The message was clear: cross the line and meet your end. The sight of the still wounded two older Uchiha crying out in agony, along with the sight of all the Uchiha that the boy had previously massacred, made everyone flinch away. The boy's unnerving stare only seemed to make him appear more terrifying. The air was thick with killing intent, smell of rotten flesh and doom. Madara felt as if his worst nightmares had came true. If losing 3 brothers in one battle was devastating, watching what was happening before his eyes was heartbreaking. The worst part was the fact that he didn't know what to do. Fortunately for him and their furious clan, someone did. Enough. Taijima Uchiha's voice was still as calm as ever despite the grave situation. His gaze as cold as ice, boring down on the form of his youngest offspring, who stared at him blankly. I command you to surrender now, Kinslayer. Madara didn't look at his father, or at the furious crowd who protested the order, instead demanding Naruto to be killed right here. All the elder Uchiha sibling really saw was the slight tremble of Naruto's lips when their father called him that insulting name. The boy raised his sword high in the air, making nearly every Uchiha take a step back in fear, but they were relieved when he instead stabbed the sword in the ground with a loud noise. The very next second, several guards appeared around Naruto, grabbing him roughly before they started dragging him gracelessly while doing their very best to keep the murderous crowd from killing the boy right there, but couldn't do anything to stop them from yelling one word at the top of their voice: Kinslayer. Madara walked towards his father, and despite the most threatening glare of his life present in his eyes, Taijima looked back at him calmly. What happened? Hissed Madara. Your brother went mad and killed these people. Now I have to sort out this mess, rendering justice, said Taijima with mild irritation, as if he was the least bothered about Naruto's fate, or what this meant for the boy's future. But then again, he had never cared about his youngest son in the first place. Bullshit. You know he would never do such a thing, protested Madara. Your love for him makes you blind to his shortcomings or his crimes, Madara. Think about the clan, warned Taijima icily. Fuck. The clan. Taijima's eyes actually widened in shock on the ever-loyal and obedient Madara saying those dangerous words. Granted, they were said barely above a whisper, leaving the nearby people unaware, but the murderous look in Madara's eyes was enough proof to show that he meant what he said. He is my brother. I don't fucking care what he is, or what he's done. I know him better than you ever will, and nothing will ever make me believe that Naruto did this. Or even if he did, then it was not without just reason. And if you do him any harm, then what, boy? The darkness and hatred in Madara's eyes made Taijima flinch and take a step back. I will kill you. With those words, Taijima's eldest son ran away towards the dungeons where Naruto was being transported. But his words would ring in his father's head for a very long time, and the look in Madara's eyes would haunt his father every night. It was dark, darker than most places Madara had seen in his life, and only the flickering lights of the flame torches hanging on the adjacent walls showed the path. He spotted quite a heavily armed guard detail standing outside one of the cells. When he approached, all 5 of them placed their hands on the hilt of their swords. No one is allowed to visit the Kinslayer without permission from Taijima-sama, warned Yamato Uchiha, the man's voice as nasty as the scar on his face. He is my brother, hissed Madara, eyes flashing red that made everyone except for Yamato take a step back. For they all knew even before he awakened the Sharingan, Madara was stronger than them all. But Yamato glared even more harshly at the action. He killed my cousin! For the first time, Madara felt some of his aggression lessen, for this man before him had indeed lost family tonight. It made the elder son of Taijima deactivate his eyes and look at the guards tiredly. I need to know what happened. He's my brother, and while I have always been loyal to our clan, I will not hesitate to harm you should you get in my way, warned Madara. Yamato stared at the boy for a long moment before shaking his head in disgust. Taijima-sama will hear of this, Madara. But go and meet the Kinslayer, for he will likely be executed tomorrow morning, said Yamato viciously, earning nods from the other guards. Madara smiled, and it sent chills down the hearts of each and every one of the guards. You are free to try. They got out of his way and opened the wooden door protected by seals that never allowed any prisoner to ever break free. Madara could still feel the heated glares raining down on him and turned back with murder evident in his eyes. When he unleashed a quarter of his killing intent, he smirked on seeing them all falling to their knees. I will slaughter your entire families and those who try to even harm my brother. Do not forget your place. You are allowed to even voice this much protest because my family allows it. I love our clan and will protect it to my dying breath, but I will not hesitate to murder you all should you or anyone else dare to even lift a finger at my family. Do you understand? He was satisfied when 3 of the guards pissed themselves and the remaining 2 were shaking in terror, including Yamato. And while this was not the way Madara liked to treat his fellow clan members, his father had always hammered down one single fact in his brain. We are the blood of the dragon, and dragons respect only strength. Show weakness even for a single second and doom yourself forever. Madara's family had retained leadership for centuries in their power-hungry clan only because of the fact that they were the strongest. And while they had done their best to make the clan flourish, his ancestors had also protected their own families against enemies and allies alike no matter the cost. And he intended to do just that. When he entered the cell, it was even darker than the corridor, so he was forced to grab a flame torch from outside and shut the door right in the faces of the still terrified guards. A pair of red eyes stared back at him from the now vanishing darkness. Madara couldn't stop himself from hastily walking forward and enwrapping his brother in a fierce hug, uncaring of the fact that the young boy was soaked in blood. "Madara, I'm here," little brother reassured Madara. "You should go." He broke the hug and stared into those fully evolved Sharingan eyes. If someone ever told him that Naruto would someday become the first to achieve this full power in centuries, Madara would have scoffed. But his brother had proved himself far from ordinary, his every action a proof of that claim. "Why?" asked Madara seriously. "I killed all of them," confessed Naruto, looking his brother right in the eye, and didn't miss Madara's shock, but despite that his brother never stared at him accusingly. "What happened?" questioned Madara patiently. Naruto looked away, unable to continue holding his brother's gaze, but Madara grabbed his chin, making him look back up. "No matter what happens or what you did or even why, I will always have your back," promised Madara. "Why?" asked Naruto sadly. "Because we are brothers." Naruto stared into those eyes and found nothing but truth and love. Madara had always loved his brothers fiercely and fought for them as best as he could, and while his relationship with Naruto had not been ideal over the years, it had improved in leaps and bounds in the past year ever since they both lost 3 of their brothers. That pain and suffering forged a bond stronger than anything either of the boys had left in their lives. Finally, the younger boy nodded and hesitantly told his older sibling the events that led to such a tragedy. And Madara listened with silent horror spreading across his heart, soon to be replaced by fury and disgust. When Naruto finished the tale, he was valiantly fighting back his tears while staring at his blood-stained hands. "Kinslayer," said Naruto with a tired sigh, staring defeatedly at the dark ceiling. Madara glared at him for saying that disgusting word. "Don't say that," he reprimanded harshly, but Naruto stared at him calmly. "It will not change the truth, brother. This is who I am and will remain so until they execute me," said Naruto in a resigned voice, which made Madara glare even more fiercely. "Nobody is going to harm you, little brother. Not while I'm still breathing," promised Madara. He surprised the young boy by grabbing his blood-stained hands and squeezing them firmly with his own. "You'll fight for me?" asked Naruto with the tiniest hope present in his voice. "Do I have a choice?" asked Madara with a smirk, making Naruto smile, but it came out more like a pained grimace. "Father has no love for me, and I guess after what I did he will be forced to take action against me because of the pressure from the rest of the clan. Likely they are all demanding right now for the Kinslayer to be executed as the law demands," suggested Naruto, making Madara frown as his brother again said the cursed title given to him tonight. "That may be true, but don't forget you are the heir to our clan in case I die. You are also the only other person than me to wield the Sharingan in centuries. Despite what has happened, the clan needs you." "I need you," said Madara honestly, the last part barely above a whisper. "You cannot fight against the entire world for me, brother," said Naruto gently, knowing that for all his power Madara was still just one young boy. "I can," said Madara defiantly. The oldest son of Taijima started walking towards the exit and opened the door swiftly, much to the terror of the still shivering guards who flinched at his icy gaze. But before he left, he stared back at his brother. "Because I am Madara Uchiha." When he entered their home and marched towards the upper floor, entering his father's room without warning, he found Taijima sitting at his table with Naori at his side, both brother and sister looking pensive while their hands grabbed their respective sake cups tightly. "Have you forgotten your manners, boy?" asked Taijima darkly, but didn't look at his son, who glared right at him. "What are you going to do with my brother?" questioned Madara. When Taijima didn't answer, Madara aggressively stepped forward but stopped when Naori looked at him pleadingly. Looking into his aunt's eyes, the boy relented and was rewarded when Taijima spoke. "The people are demanding his head, Madara, and you're going to give them just that, aren't you, father?" "You have never loved him," spat Madara viciously. Surprisingly, Taijima merely nodded. "Yes, I have never loved your brother. But he is my son, and I don't want him to die like this," admitted Taijima. "Neither do I. But it's going to be quite hard to protect him. He killed a lot of people," said Naori hesitantly. Madara glared back at the two adults and their pathetic resolves. "And they dare call themselves Uchiha, the dragon's descendants? Do whatever you want. But know this." Both Taijima and Naori looked to see the intent murder burning in Madara's eyes that sent a chill down their spines. "If anybody tries to harm my brother, then you'll have 2 Kinslayers and a lot of dead Uchiha," promised Madara. "Madara, I know the truth, father." Taijima's eyes widened in horror as he realized Naruto had told his brother why this tragedy had happened despite Taijima's warning to keep his lips sealed forever. But then again, Madara was all Naruto had left in his life, the last person the boy trusted, even loved. Even if Madara had never known the truth like originally planned, Taijima doubted his eldest would have stopped himself from defending his brother. And despite everything, it made Taijima feel relieved because the future of his family was safe in the form of the unflinching loyalty that existed between his 2 sons. He could see it now. Madara was not an ordinary person, and not just because of his powers. But in those cold black-colored eyes, Taijima saw unending strength. This boy was strong, determined, had the power that could make men kneel or simply piss themselves in terror, and spared no mercy for those who wronged him in any manner. Most dangerous being threatening his family. Yet when the Uchiha overpassed tonight's tragedy, restoring their pride and glory, it just wouldn't be because of Madara. No, it would be because of another boy as well, but he would never be loved or admired like Madara, for he would be hated and spat upon for the rest of his life. Someone whom parents could warn their children about so as not to become like the Kinslayer. We will handle this, promised Naori, looking unflinchingly into Madara's hard eyes. The boy stared at her for a long moment before nodding and walking back towards the door without a word. Where are you going? Asked Taijima warily. While Madara was a calm person at most times, but when angry he was capable of dangerous things. And right now he was not angry, but utterly pissed. And Taijima feared not for his boy, but for the fools who could try to rile Madara or even worse curse Naruto for his crime. To the dungeons, admitted Madara, stepping at the door's exit. You can't be there, Madara said Naori seriously, and flinched when those cold eyes again landed on her. I will be there, guarding my brother, and any fool that tries something will lose his head by my sword. See that nobody attempts such stupidity, and warned Madara. Naori weakly nodded as Madara stared back at his father. I'll bring him to you tomorrow morning. Call the elders in the council. I'd like to address them, said Madara frankly. They won't listen to you, said Naori honestly, for even if he was a strong fighter, Madara was still a young boy, at least to the ones older than him. He gave her a chilling smile in return. Then I'll cut off their useless ears. Next day, when Naruto entered the impromptu meeting chamber organized within his own mansion, he saw all the elders and other council members of their clan present. Most of the council was comprised of various smaller families with wealth, or having the most powerful fighters. Those seats changed every now and then when those families either lost their wealth or stopped producing good quality fighters. The same was for the elders, only they were changed either by the order of the clan head, or when they died. Everybody earned their rank through merit, and not on the glory of long-dead ancestors. Those were the customs of the Uchiha, and according to the same customs and rules, someone like him could only be awarded one punishment for his crime: death. He saw it in their eyes. Most of them wanted him dead, and those who didn't seem overtly hostile didn't look too pleased either, for in every person's eyes he saw the same accusation ever present: Kinslayer. On Madara's insistence, he had been dressed in his clan's dark robes instead of prisoner uniform. But all his weapons were confiscated, leaving him open to be attacked by any of these men or women. But he doubted such a thing could happen in the presence of his father and aunt, or because of the fact Madara stood ahead of him like a bloodhound. He stared at his oldest brother and couldn't help but be grateful to him, because when everyone turned their backs on him, Madara stood by him. Even after knowing the real truth of why he did what he did, Madara never changed his opinion. Naruto had always known his brother was the stronger fighter, but now he knew another fact about his sibling. Madara was a better man than him. Whatever his fate today, he was proud of his brother, and if somehow he survived, he vowed to stand by Madara no matter what happened. For his brother, he would do anything, for he was all Naruto had left. Finally, Taijima broke the heavy silence. Naruto Uchiha, you have been accused of killing your own clansmen. What do you plead? Asked Taijima directly, cutting short any unwanted pleasantries, for no person was in the mood for that. Guilty. The chamber would have exploded in anger had Taijima not raised his hand, silencing the rest. His father might be a cold man, but he was respected and feared nonetheless by the rest of the clan. Why did you do such a thing? Asked Ayato Uchiha, an elder who had lost an eye fighting for their clan along with both hands. Everyone waited for the reason behind such a gruesome massacre, but the young boy remained silent. Madara clenched his fists tightly as the glares got even more worse. He wanted nothing more than to punch them all, for they had no right to stare at his brother like that. Not after what he did, but he also knew in Naruto's silence was the salvation of his clan, who had just started to regain their lost glory. We should execute the Kinslayer, voiced Hotaru Uchiha heatedly, having lost her younger brother by Naruto's sword. He has confessed his crime and the law is clear in this matter. Taijima-sama pointed at Atami Uchiha calmly, but his cold dark eyes didn't fail to stare at Naruto distastefully. Various other demands of the same nature were raised by the rest of the council, and while Taijima remained silent, it was Madara who was about to explode. Unfortunately, there were many in the room that had lost close or distant family in the massacre, and the clan head's silence was taken for hesitance, or more dangerous, weakness, as one of the bold elders gestured to the nearby guards, who nodded. When 10 of those guards took their first step, Madara drew his sword and activated his Sharingan, drawing sharp gasps from everyone who had never expected such an action from their famed hero. Madara, what is the meaning of this? Demanded one of the elders angrily. It was again Hotaru Uchiha who glared at Madara fiercely. You have lived your entire life for the clan, Madara. Are you going to die for the Kinslayer? Asked the woman in disbelief. Madara's glare made her flinch as his killing intent flared, bringing all the guards to their knees and the council to grip their chairs firmly. Someone will promise the boy. Enough. Taijima's commanding voice stopped the commotion instantly, as even Madara lowered his sword on seeing his father stand up from his chair. Proud. Tall. Commanding. I will not execute Naruto, declared Taijima, drawing shocked gasps followed by heated glares from everyone. But dash, protested Hotaru. Out. Madara smirked viciously when the gobsmacked woman stared at his cold father in shock, which only made Taijima glare harder at her. You are removed from this council. Your family debarred for 10 years from contesting your seat, declared Taijima. Naruto stared in shock. He had known his father was powerful, but this was the first time he saw the man in action. Hotaru Uchiha actually bowed respectfully before walking out hastily, that seemed to make the rest of the council submit to the commanding leader. And when the same men glanced back at him with those intimidating eyes, Naruto involuntarily stood a little straighter. I know what he did, but you forget he has the Sharingan, and is one of our most powerful fighters. He and Madara helped us win that important battle against the Senjus. Our enemies fear us again because we have the Sharingan. More importantly, he is my son, said Taijima coldly. Many of the people lost some of their anger on realizing the power Naruto held. Killing him was easy, but it would harm the clan because for all his crimes he was a dangerous fighter. Even more so, with his Sharingan. Maybe you're right, Taijima-sama. And while we still don't know why he killed his own people, we know he is just a new adult. And am I right in assuming Madara is against this decision? Asked Yamashiro Uchiha, father of Itachi Uchiha and one of the more influencing members of the council. You kill my brother or even try to harm him, then not only will I kill the fools who try such madness, but I will leave this clan forever, promised Madara without hesitation. Naruto was too stunned by what his brother just said, and that did it, for the entire council instantly panicked, for Madara was one of their most powerful fighters. In future, he had the potential to become the strongest and capable enough to butcher the Senju and all their enemies single-handedly. While killing Naruto would be a blow, losing Madara would be devastating and cast their clan's future in darkness. And these men and women knew that. It was then Naori chose a different approach than the one taken by her brother and nephew. I personally apologize for what Naruto has done, but he is still a boy and we still don't know if someone influenced him to do such a thing. It could be our enemies, suggested Naori. I find that hard to believe, commented an elder skeptically, staring at Naruto harshly. Whatever the case, I will not execute my son. But nor will I let his crimes go unpunished, declared Taijima, which finally seemed to calm down the council. Madara was about to protest when he felt Naruto gently grabbing his hand. When he looked at the brown-haired boy, his brother shook his head, silencing Madara. Naruto Uchiha. The said boy stepped forward and met his father's eyes. For your crimes I denounce you. Madara's eyes widened in horror at his father's decision. I strip you off from my family and as my heir after Madara. Even the council members and the elders seemed shocked at the decision as they stared at father and son. And banish you from all our lands and hometown for 10 years. Naori lowered her gaze as she knew the last part would be the harshest. I forbid you from marrying, from having children, from owning any lands. From this day forth you shall serve as Naori's bodyguard, protecting her on clan missions. Should your behavior and actions be found redeeming after 10 years, I or the next clan head will contemplate bringing you back amongst us. But you shall never have a family for all the ones you destroyed with your actions. Heavy silence descended within the room, broken by the trembling of Madara's hands, as he gripped his sword tightly, waiting for a single cry of help from his brother. For this sentence was worse than death. It was a curse aimed to turn a man's life into a living hell. But even as his anger boiled over, Madara watched. Most people in the room seemed quite satisfied with the judgment, for they now understood that killing Naruto was indeed a merciful action which would never heal their wounds. But this, it would make the boy suffer every day of his life. His every moment a living hell. And despite it all, he would still remain an Uchiha, ready to be used for their clan's purposes. Madara walked towards his brother and grasped his shoulders, making the young boy look at him. You don't have to do this. I do, answered Naruto sadly. Why? They don't deserve your loyalty, said Madara fiercely, earning a nod from his brother. I am not doing this for them, confessed Naruto. Then why? For Izuna. For our brothers who died so that this clan could live and flourish. I promised them that I would protect what they gave their lives for, no matter what happened. And I will keep my word, said Naruto seriously. Madara was proud and heartbroken at the same time at his brother's decision. But the pain, said Madara sadly, receiving a forced smile from Naruto. As long as I have you, I don't need anything else. A lone tear fell from Madara's eyes as Naruto stepped forward and knelt before their father. I accept. As he said those faithful words, in his heart the young boy knew his life would never be the same. 2 weeks later, Naruto stared at the lake in front of his family home, a place he had known his entire life, where most of his happy as well as sad memories were made. He looked at the training yard and the small forest surrounding the mansion where he and his brothers used to train together. He looked at a lot of things, each with specific memories attached to them. Currently wearing his clan gear, he was ready to depart from his only home for a very long time. Perhaps forever if he couldn't manage to survive until it was time to come back. If such a time ever came. He touched his cheek to find it covered in a dark face mask, courtesy of avoiding the glares and jibes being thrown at him all the time after the judgment given on him. The initial few days had been chaotic. While many were satisfied with the lenient yet cruel decision, there were few who still demanded his head. Fortunately for them, the elder's watchful eye and Madara's threat of slaughtering entire families of those who dared to attack his little brother kept those people at bay. But it never kept at bay those hushed whispers, those heated glares, or the term forever attached to him, one that shall never disappear even after he died. Kinslayer. Unlike what his clan or even his own family thought, he didn't commit those murders out of madness or manipulation. Nor did he willingly accept the judgment to save his own life or continue to be loyal to the clan only for the sake of his dead brothers. He did it because it was his duty. For in this world of never-ending war, he would not find any family except for the one he was born in. Yet it was not easy to deal with that name attached to him, to stare back at those accusatory eyes, to bear those whispered curses. It was why he had taken this mask, in order to hide his smile, for whenever anyone called him Kinslayer, he smiled. For he knew why he did what he had to, fully aware of the consequences that would follow. And he didn't regret it even if it costed him everything in his life. But his smile would send the wrong message which would only increase the attacks on him. And while he could defeat most of his assailants, even he had his limits. Besides, his family was already in enough trouble and there was no need for him to add further to them. He was disrupted from his thoughts when he felt another person step beside him. "You're ready?" He looked at his tall father and saw that his usual stony look was replaced by something he couldn't understand. "Yes. We leave at midnight as per Naori-sama's decision. It is better this way, less fools to entertain," jaded Naruto with a mocking smile. But it faltered when Taijima stared at him sadly. "When you hear them whispering Kinslayer behind your back? Doesn't it bother you?" The older Uchiha watched as his son stared at the lake with such hardness in his eyes that should never be there in someone so young. "Of course, it bothers me. But I will deal with it," he answered defiantly. "For what it's worth, I'm sore." Taijima stopped instantly when the murderous glare rained down on him. "Do not mock my duty, father," warned Naruto. Taijima nodded, looking the young boy right in the eye. "You proved me wrong, you know." Naruto blinked at those words and couldn't hide his surprise as he stared at his father, who looked down at him, almost with a caring look. "How? I always thought you the weakest among all my sons. You were soft, and didn't have the talent for fighting. But when it truly mattered you stood up for the clan, your family, your brothers, and even me. You sacrificed your honor for all of us," said Taijima painfully. "Father," I said Naruto hesitantly, not able to believe that he actually saw his father, his bloody cold old man on the verge of tears. "Madara might be more stronger than you, but you have a strength that he might never have. You're so much like your mother in that manner," revealed Taijima, as Naruto's eyes lowered. "Look where that got her." He looked up when a firm hand was placed on his shoulder. "She never regretted giving you life. She gave you your name, wished you the best in life, and finally died with a smile on her face holding your tiny form in her arms." The boy's hands were trembling even as Taijima continued. "Mothers are powerful, son. Even dead she lives on in you, gave you her kindness and strength, made you strong enough to overcome all the challenges that came your way and those that will come in the future. She gave you everything that I never gave you, and yet what you did for me is something I will never forget," expressed Taijima honestly. "You gave me life, father." Taijima looked away from those powerful eyes that were so much like his dead wife's as a lone tear fell from his eyes. It took him a while, but he managed to get himself under control and turn back towards his son. He surprised the boy by presenting him a long sword with flames engraved on its steel and the hilt containing the symbol of a dragon. Naruto was left speechless. "I can't accept this. It's not my right," said Naruto fiercely. "This ancestral sword was given to me by my father, and to him by his father before him, and so on. My father, while giving me this sword, told me that it is not a weapon to slay your enemies alone, but a symbol, an oath that you take of protecting the clan from all enemies no matter who they are. A promise that you shall be just and fair to your people. Every Uchiha clan leader passes this heirloom down to the one who can lead the clan towards a better future," explained Taijima patiently. "I am no longer your heir, father. It's Madara's by right," argued Naruto, as he never wanted to take something that rightfully belonged to a brother who fought for him so fiercely against everyone. "Madara will hold this clan together with his power, but he lacks vision. But you are different, and I entrust this to you with the hope that you will find a better future for our clan. Besides, Madara hates swords," said Taijima with a faint smile. Naruto blinked owlishly, causing his father's eyebrows to twitch in annoyance. "Did you just joke?" asked Naruto in disbelief. "I shouldn't?" questioned Taijima flatly, causing Naruto to struggle for an answer. Taijima smirked, earning an accusatory finger from his son. "You did that on purpose." And then they both laughed for perhaps the first time together in their entire lives as Taijima hesitantly ruffled those brown locks that were the same as Hikari's. "Do what your aunt says and try not to give her too much trouble. And if I hear even a whisper of you visiting whorehouses or bars disgracing the family name, I'll make you an eunuch," promised Taijima darkly. But again it only earned an eye roll from the boy. "As if Kinslayer wasn't enough," muttered Naruto. "What was that?" "Nothing," Taijima sighed. "I say this because women and alcohol are a shinobi's greatest weakness. You cannot be a warrior if any of your senses are distracted in any manner. I see great potential in you, don't waste it away," advised Taijima. "Hi, and try not to fall in love or some other foolish notion. I will not allow such a thing," warned Taijima. "Father, you did just forbid me from marrying or having a family. It will only be more painful if I commit an even bigger folly knowing that I cannot change my fate," said Naruto tiredly. The bop he received on the head nearly made his eyes pop out. The old man was strong. "I say that because that will make it much difficult for me to find you a proper Uchiha girl." Naruto stared, and received another harder bop on the head. "Did you really think I was going to sacrifice my heir, my son, his future for those fools despite knowing the truth? Let them cool over. Your absence will accelerate the process as I and Madara try to make this incident become a distant memory. I'd suggest you do something great or extraordinary that benefits the clan immensely, which will further help to bring you back among our people. It won't be easy, but it is not impossible either," explained Taijima honestly. "But what if they don't change their minds even then?" asked Naruto hesitantly, still trying to get over his surprise at what his father just said. Taijima scoffed. "A dragon doesn't concern himself with the opinion of sheep. Most of the time," added the father with a grin. "You're funny like me," said Naruto with a smile, as a smug smirk appeared on Taijima's lips which made him look much younger. "You didn't get all good things just from your mother alone," scolded Taijima, but without the usual heat present in his tone. When Taijima presented the sword, Naruto accepted it respectfully, and saw the man smiling proudly. "I will make this right, son. My only regret is that it took things to go this south to make me understand you," confessed Taijima, quite ashamed of his earlier treatment of his son all these years. His pain over the loss of his wife made him blind to the diamond she had left behind, and even if the entire clan today spat upon his son, Taijima was proud of him. "Better late than never, father." The boy offered his hand with a roguish grin and a kind look in his eyes, lacking any accusation for all Taijima had put him through. It only made the older Uchiha feel more guilty as he knelt down and hugged the boy who stiffened, having never experienced such affection from his father. And he said those words that Uchiha Naruto had yearned for all these years. "I'm proud of you, my son." Once he had walked these streets oblivious to the people around him. Most never recognized him. The few who did usually never bothered to greet him, for his own family had shown no interest in him back then. But when he won the battle against the Senjus, awakening the Sharingan, everyone respected him overnight. As needy as it sounded, he had enjoyed that attention. Even now he still garnered the same attention, but where once there had been respect and pride behind, that was now replaced by scorn and utter loathing in those eyes. They all hated him. "Kinslayer." He could hear the whispers no matter how low they all spoke. They didn't say anything and only glared when he was in front of them, but as soon as his back was turned, they whispered. And he smiled, walking even more tall and proud, which only seemed to infuriate his fellow clansmen. As he looked into their hateful eyes, those haunting words came back in his heart. The ones he had heard on that night. The ones that made him raise his sword, killing every one of his clansmen in sight. The same words that led to him becoming what he was. That led to all these people judging him as if he was the worst shit ever to be born in this noble clan. But he reminded himself that this was his choice, and now he had to bear it. One of the older women spat at his feet, receiving a mocking bow in return from him. A middle-aged man gave him the finger, earning the same gesture from him. A child younger than him threw a small pebble at him, which he easily avoided, and stared at the gathered mass of people with amusement shining in his eyes. "Is that all? I would think the blood of the dragon are more capable than that," teased Naruto. He smirked when every one of them flinched and glared harder at him. Yet they parted away, clearing a path that led towards the gates of their town. If one thing was certain about his clan, was the fact that they all followed orders and believed firmly in obeying those above their station. Even if those orders were not to their liking, it was those orders that allowed him to walk in these streets and not be mauled to death. But that fate would have been much kinder and quicker than the utter loathing in the eyes of his people. There was a time when he had many followers and people who looked up to him. But now they were all gone, and as he walked through the streets leading towards the path outside their town, he felt so alone. When those pair of demonic eyes opened again, he had expected a lot of things, but to his utter surprise, it was sadness that he saw in the beast's eyes. "Kinslayer." Naruto bristled at that name, having not expected even the fox to call him that, much less even know what happened that led to him being disgraced. The beast must have read his mind, as he easily answered. "These ears of mine can hear far and wide. Do you think I could keep an eye on your clan from here if I didn't know what was going on?" asked Kurama amusedly. "Then you know what happened." The fox nodded and saw the boy shrug his shoulders. "Go on. Mock me then. I don't mind," said Naruto carelessly. The fox stared at him. "Is that what you want?" asked the beast, with surprising calm, and saw the boy shake his head. "It doesn't matter what I want. It matters to me." Naruto stared into those eyes, searching for any sign of pity or lies, but found none as Kurama stared back at him. "Why?" "Because I know the truth," whispered Kurama, and saw the boy glare at him. "You will never say another word about that," warned Naruto, and even more surprisingly earned a nod from the beast. "You remind me of a boy I once knew before he changed and became someone I could never recognize," said Kurama reminiscently. "Who?" asked Naruto. Silence was his answer, and he was not surprised, for the beast was just like that, having a lot of secrets, and he had to admit it made him wonder more. Kurama watched as Naruto took out at least a dozen scrolls from his various pouches and opened them to reveal another river of food. When he stared at the boy, he shrugged. "Thought we might share one last meal before I leave," said Naruto hopefully. "I don't have any need to eat," reminded Kurama, as the boy rolled his eyes impatiently. "Humor me, Papa Bear," teased the boy. "I'm the great fox, Kinslayer," reprimanded Kurama, earning a loud chuckle from the insolent brat. "Whatever," replied Naruto with a grin, making Kurama sigh. They both silently dug into their meals until halfway through they both froze and their cold eyes narrowed in suspicion. Kurama was impressed when in one swift move Naruto unleashed his new sword, wielding it with such mastery, as if it was a part of his body, as his Sharingan came alive. The fox himself got back on all four legs, towering over the boy as both of them prepared themselves. "We've got company." Kurama waited in anticipation as he sensed a mass of intruders edging closer and closer in the dark valley. There were quite a lot of them, which made the giant fox snarl, but on the other hand his unlikely ally stood calm and composed. There was strength and grace in his posture. The way he handled his long sword with ease showed his skill with the weapon, his Sharingan quickly scanning for the first sight of their approaching enemy. But the most striking feature about the boy was the way he looked, which was exactly the same as the one of a boy Kurama had known a long time ago. The resemblance was disturbing for the beast, but unlike in the past, This time he had a faint hope in his heart. For this boy before him, despite having similar looks and great power like his ancestor, had one factor that set him apart. Naruto Uchiha was a good man, a person who dearly loved his family and clan, going so far as to sully his own honor and life to keep them safe, whereas his ancestor had chosen power over blood. Kurama could only hope Naruto's sense of honor and loyalty didn't fade away with time, as happened with most Uchihas. Even if today he was known as a kinslayer, Kurama would not have any other Uchiha here beside him than this boy in the upcoming battle. He was brought out of his inner thoughts when Naruto spoke. Kurama smirked when the dozens of armed warriors dressed in heavy armor stopped on seeing him. Their wide and terrified eyes took in his monstrous form, and the dangerous tail flowing wildly. He couldn't help but laugh internally at their fear, and yet he also felt disgust at their weakness, for they were the blood of a man he had dearly loved. Kagaya and Hagoromo clans. Quite strange seeing them together, said Naruto curiously, but the heavy frown on his face was enough to show he was troubled by this new development. The enemies seemed to whisper something among each other which made Kurama growl angrily. Naruto looked up at the fox with a knowing look in his eyes. Something tells me they are here for you, suggested the boy. And you as well. They plan to either kill you or capture you for your Sharingan, warned Kurama. The beast felt a shiver pass through his body when Naruto's eye turned ice cold, his face a mask of contained fury, making his red eyes seem even more menacing. Scared, kinslayer? Teased Kurama. In your dreams, Fox, retorted Naruto testily, but there was an amused smile on his face. There are quite a few of them. You forget who I am? Asked the boy, that famed Uchiha arrogance present in his voice and the cocky smirk on his lips. But while most of his clansmen couldn't back those words into reality, this boy could. The fox surprised his unlikely ally by simply sitting back on the ground with a nonchalant grin on his beastly face. Go on. Humor me, Naruto smirked. I don't work for free, Fox. Something between amusement and curiosity quickly passed through the Biju's eyes as he narrowed his eyes at the statement, but quickly made his decision nonetheless. You're interesting, kinslayer. Show me what you've got first, challenged Kurama, earning a mocking bow from the young boy. I am your humble servant, Papa Bear, teased Naruto. Kurama snarled angrily on that ridiculous nickname, but before he could retort back with a fitting reply, Naruto stepped forward towards the approaching enemy force. The enemy made their intention clear when they charged ahead with thunderous battle cries, their various weapons screaming for blood. Kurama's eyes slightly widened when he saw Naruto flex his sword, pouring his chakra into the blade, making it glow bright blue. He knew this sword, remembered the one who had made this weapon and used it in every battle. Never once had this blade been broken. And now, watching that same sword being wielded by this brown-haired boy with heavenly fair skin and delicate features along with that famed Sharingan, removed the last doubts from Kurama's mind. Indra, even dead you still live on. It seems this time you are truly reborn in this boy. Kurama had felt something distinct in Naruto the first time he encountered the boy by accident. He was different. His features, his chakra, his skills. When the boy spoke of his family, of his dead brothers, Kurama had found the same love and affection in this boy that Indra once had for his own family before things went horribly wrong. Naruto adhered to the same sense of duty and loyalty which Indra had developed in his own house, the Uchiha. The only difference between those two was Naruto's sarcastic humor, and the fact that Naruto gave up his honor and his life for his family, while Indra gave up on his own family. Naruto gave out his own battle cry, stabbing his ancestral sword in the ground, unleashing a violent rumbling that surprised his enemies. Rocks and debris fell from the surface of the valley due to the tremors, sending the enemy forces into disarray. And then the boy charged. He appeared behind his first opponent with a shunshin, cleaving the teenage boy in half in one single strike. Electricity rained down from his left hand, stunning 5 more enemies within range. Naruto brought his sword upward, blocking a strike from a Kagaya woman who snarled wildly at him. Her mistake was looking into his eyes. When he beheaded her mercilessly, her clansmen backed away. The stench of death and rotting bodies didn't bother him anymore. His fears no longer bothered him, for he had seen and done much worse. He was a kinslayer, and these people meant nothing to him. Having realized they were more vulnerable going against him alone, the combined warriors of 2 different clans ganged up together and unleashed an entire barrage of kunai and shuriken in his direction. Naruto roared murderously, unleashing a massive amount of chakra from his body, sending a brutal shockwave dispersing all the projectiles sailing towards him. He clasped his hands together and glared menacingly as he finished gathering his chakra. Suiton, Suryudan no Jutsu, water release. Water Dragon Bullet Technique. Kurama's eyes widened when Naruto created 2 entire large water dragons out of thin air, displaying his skill with the element. The summoned beasts roared as their creator surged electricity through them, giving them more power as they charged towards their terrified enemies who had not expected such power from one so young. When the cackling water dragons crashed, nearly 7 enemies were crushed while the rest barely managed to jump to safety. As the carnage was finished, Naruto walked towards a twitching older man in his 20s who was crushed with his body marred in severe burns. He would not live long, but death would not arrive for him sooner, either leaving him in a lot of pain. Kurama watched Naruto bury his sword swiftly in his twitching enemy's head, mercifully ending the man's painful last moments. Monster! The boy actually smirked as one of the Hagoromo warriors called him that. But he prepared himself when he saw the enemy fan out and surround him. They clearly don't want me to unleash my jutsu anymore. He looked at his enemies, Nearly 10 of them were left out of the dozen that had arrived, and they were all making every effort not to look in his eyes. That gave him a distinct advantage in this fight, but they had the numbers and he had a feeling the blades of the Kagaya were definitely laced with poison. He cursed himself for not having his armor with him right now, for that would at least give him some protection. Another point to keep in mind for the future. Instead, he picked up one of the swords from a nearby dead Hagoromo and wielded his now 2 swords against his enemies. Kurama watched this young boy facing against men and women far older and experienced than him with absolute courage. There was a smile on the boy's face as all the enemies attacked him at once. Naruto parried his ancestral sword forward, breaking the counter swords of 2 Hagoromo, resulting in their throats being slit instantly. With his other stolen sword, he blocked strikes aimed at his back and delivered a roundhouse kick to the remaining 2 in front of him, sending them crashing away. The fox watched as the enemies charged at the boy and he laughed. Naruto performed a fast shunshin, passing right between his enemies. 3 men and 1 woman fell dead to the ground with their heads missing. The remaining 5 enemies glared at the boy as he rotated his swords with ease despite their weight in his small hands. He's strong. Kurama's sentiment was proven right when Naruto blocked 5 swords with his 2 and kicked one of the attackers in the balls. The boy roared, pushing his enemies back, making them stumble momentarily. The boy used that single moment to stab his swords clean through 2 more hearts. With just 3 enemies remaining, Naruto's smirk grew wide, but his focused eyes were fixed on his opponents. But that smirk vanished from his lips when 3 giant tails grabbed the last enemies, and before he could say anything he was showered in flesh and gore, as the enemy clan soldiers were crushed brutally. He glared at the fox, who laughed ferociously. "You stole my kills," said Naruto petulantly, a pout arriving on his lips. "Like the shower, Kinslayer?" retorted Kurama with a smirk. Naruto shook his head and dutifully wiped the blood from his ancestral sword while throwing the stolen one away. He walked towards one last Kagaya woman who was writhing in pain. He bent down and observed the wound to her heart which he had given. She's strong. Her end was near, and yet he saw her raise her hand towards his eyes, wishing to tear them away from him. He gently grabbed her hand and peered into her mind with his Sharingan. By the time he was done, he was alarmed, but he maintained his composure, staring at the woman who was still glaring at him with her dying eyes. "Rest now," he commanded with his Sharingan. The woman named Kimi glared at him one final time before her pained expression vanished, and her eyes closed forever. When he got up from the dead corpse, he saw Kurama watching him intently with a question present in his eyes. "What?" asked Naruto irritatedly. "She was your enemy," commented Kurama, confusion present in his demonic eyes. The boy smiled. "Sometimes it is better to bestow mercy even to our enemies," said Naruto kindly. "You enjoyed killing them," said Kurama accusingly, earning a fierce glare from the boy that surprised the beast. "I enjoyed battle, not the killing, fox. Remember that," warned Naruto. "Why? All life is precious," answered Naruto honestly. "Then why do you fight at all?" questioned Kurama curiously, and saw a pained but determined frown arrive on the boy's face. "Because I serve my family, my clan. It is my duty to protect them, no matter the cost, or my pride," said Naruto faithfully, which made Kurama smirk. "Then what is your dream?" "Something other than keeping your family safe," said Kurama seriously. Naruto stayed silent for several long moments, his young sad eyes glancing at all those he had killed moments ago, and then at his own hand holding his ancestral sword. "I guess." Kurama waited when the boy hesitated as his lips trembled. "For once in my life, I want this endless fighting to be over." The boy glanced at the night sky with the moon enlightening the vast landscape. "I want to serve something greater than my life, something in which I believe in. I want to end this warfare and create a place where people can live together without any prejudices. And for that dream, I will risk my honor, my life." When Naruto looked back at the fox, he saw the Biju had again adopted one of those unreadable looks in his demonic eyes. "You're different than your mad clan," whispered the beast. Naruto smirked arrogantly. "Told you we're not all crazy," teased Naruto. Kurama just laughed, which made Naruto smile, but it soon disappeared on the boy's next question. "Do you have any family, Kurama?" The question asked out of curiosity evoked an extremely pained expression in the fox's eyes before he closed those demonic eyes, likely remembering his own past. Naruto, despite his young age, understood the beast didn't want to discuss this, so he turned around and started walking away. "Kinslayer." He turned back and saw the fox staring at him intently. "Why did 2 clans attack you?" asked Kurama seriously, and saw Naruto stiffen a little. "Word has got out about the Sharingan being reawakened in me and my brother. All clans are wary of my clan regaining their lost power, and want to put a stop to it before it harms their interests. Strangely, the Kagaya clan was informed by someone about your existence, and they came here to capture you," explained Naruto frankly. "They should have brought more fools, and even that wouldn't have been enough," mocked Kurama with a laugh. But when Naruto didn't share the sentiment, he looked back at the serious boy. "This was a test," he replied. "And we passed?" asked Kurama knowingly. Naruto nodded. "Then the next attack will be a big one," stated the beast, earning a nod from the boy. "I need to see my family." "Inform them of this," said Naruto frankly. "And tell them about me as well?" asked Kurama dangerously, surprised with the boy's decision. Naruto smiled. "No. I gave you my word that I will keep your existence a secret from my clan. I am not going back on my promise." Kurama relaxed and looked quite pleased with the decision, which made him stare at the boy curiously. "Where will you go?" asked the beast, and saw the boy shrug. Wherever duty commands me. Kurama nodded, smiling at the boy. Farewell, Kinslayer. Naruto smiled back. You too, Papa Bear. And then he walked away, leaving Kurama alone. Taijima stared at his blood-stained son, thankful for the fact that Naruto didn't walk into town in this state lest the people think he murdered another few of their clan. Although he was surprised that Naruto had developed a secret passage for himself for going in and out of the town as he pleased. He should be angry with the boy. However, the firm gaze in Naruto's eyes and what he just revealed made Taijima's thoughts focus elsewhere. You killed all of them? In single combat? Asked Naori in surprise, earning a scoff from Madara. He's the best swordsman I've ever seen. He can handle it, boasted Madara, which made his younger brother grin with pride. Regardless, it seems our enemies are now actively moving against us. We need to prepare, directed Taijima. We need to gather our allies, get more political and monetary support from the various daimyos. It will take time, brother, suggested Naori, to which Taijima nodded. Then you leave in 2 hours. I'm increasing the armed force and servants that will be assisting you. Naruto, you will be responsible for your aunt's safety, ordered Taijima, and was pleased when his younger son knelt respectfully. No harm will fall on Naori-sama until there is life in me, promised Naruto, earning an amused smile from his aunt as she remembered not long ago this young boy had been quite different than he was now. But then again, a lot had changed in his life. What will you do, brother? Asked Naori curiously, making Taijima look at Madara. We will start attacking the Senju and their allies. Our goal will be to grab as much territory and contracts as we can while weakening our sworn enemies. I will personally lead this campaign with Madara acting as my second in command, decided Taijima, which made Madara smile. Good. I've been waiting to make those tree huggers pay for what they did to my brothers, said Madara darkly, hatred visible in his eyes. Naruto frowned at his brother, for while their family had lost quite a lot because of the Senju, it was also true that both he and Madara had themselves murdered many Senjus, men, women and children who were family to many others. He idly wondered the fact that if his clan managed to defeat the Senjus, then what? Would they then move on to fight some other clan? What was the meaning behind this senseless slaughter? Was there a way to stop it or at least lessen its extent? Many questions plagued his young heart, but at the same time he knew his duty. He was an Uchiha, no matter his reputation. And he would serve his clan no matter his personal feelings, for even if he wanted to change things, he had no power. He was already disowned, forbidden to have a family, his name tainted, no longer the heir to the clan. It made him wonder as to whether his decision that night was right or wrong, for the consequences of his actions were now getting clear to him. He looked at his brother, and saw the desire to butcher every living Senju in Madara's eyes. His brother would not rest until they were all dead and then find some other enemy to satisfy his thirst for battle. Madara loved challenges, especially battles, and unlike Naruto, his elder brother didn't mind killing. The weak deserved to die. That was Madara's philosophy, and while it bothered Naruto, it didn't change the fact that he loved Madara dearly despite his shortcomings and faults. For when everyone gave up on him, Madara didn't, and for that alone, Madara would have Naruto's unflinching loyalty no matter his choices. Naruto was again surprised by his elder brother when Madara came forward with a heavy chest in his arms. Curious, he watched as his brother opened it to reveal a finely crafted armor of gold bearing the image of a dragon at the heart, and the symbol of the Uchiha on its back. For me? Asked Naruto with wide smile. Of course, little brother. Consider it my parting gift, said Madara with a proud smile, happy that Naruto liked the armor crafted for him. It had taken quite a lot of money, after all. Naruto noticed many seals on the armor and a very strong helm which would protect his face and head in battle. It was unique, for no such thing was ever used by any other Uchiha, but he couldn't deny the fact that he would be better protected with this in battle. Madara noticed his lingering gaze on the seals and explained, those are chakra seals, little brother. They will regularly absorb your chakra from your body in small amounts, and in battle when you are low, you can draw that energy back to replenish your diminished reserves. Plus, this armor will keep you warm in the cold weather, and is airy enough to bear in hotter climates. It will expand itself on its own as you grow, and is strong enough to bear strong jutsu attacks, not to mention weapon attacks, boasted Madara proudly. Whoa! Madara, how much did you? Naruto was cut short when Madara raised his hand, preventing his brother from asking that silly question, but was forced to do so when Taijima stood up. Where did you get this? Asked Taijima seriously, staring harshly at his eldest son. The black markets. It took quite a bit of gold to procure, but I had saved enough from my past missions. The trader said this was made by the Uzumaki clan, for only they are this skilled in the sealing arts. Even I have to say, despite their distant alliance with the Senju, their capabilities are quite good, praised Madara honestly. Taijima nodded, and Naruto didn't miss his father glancing at his aunt. Something passed between brother and sister, an unspoken agreement which Naruto couldn't decipher as Naori nodded in understanding. You should be more careful with your money, Madara. But I am happy that this will help protect your brother, said Taijima neutrally, making Madara and Naruto smile. We're rich, father, deadpanned Madara, earning a brief chuckle from Taijima Uchiha. Yes. That is true, thanks to your aunt and her skill at trade and negotiations, praised Taijima, as a faint blush arrived on Naori's cheeks. Naruto wistfully stared at his happy family and couldn't help but remember Izuna, and how he would have been happy to see them all being happy like this. His fists clenched as he remembered the silver-haired Senju who killed his beloved older brother. And he vowed to kill that bastard, no matter what happened. By midnight, the convoy was ready. Taijima glanced at the carts full of supplies, money, and parchments that authorized Naori to negotiate on behalf of the Uchiha clan with any who wished. Her decisions would be binding on the entire clan provided that Taijima gave the final nod. The clan head observed the 24 servants that will be assisting his sister with her daily chores, administrative tasks, and serving her along with the entire convoy in general. These were the people who could not fight, and thus were trained to serve their betters. Among the others were a few whores that would serve to entertain the guards at their pleasure. While Taijima detested this practice, he also knew men were weak when it came to sex and money particularly. Half of this convoy was comprised of security forces made up of some of the finest Uchiha fighters. They were all good men and women who had served Taijima loyally, but even many of them had the need for personal pleasure. And it was better if they did it with the whores of their own clan, and not some other enemy that might kill them during the act or force them to reveal any critical information regarding the Uchiha. He checked the horses that would be carrying the supplies and non-combatants. Since their journey would be fanning across the elemental nations, he had made sure to provide every fighter with a horse. While those fine creatures would only be used for long-distance travel, they could be used in battle as well, but he doubted any Uchiha would do it, for that would go against their pride for depending on a creature for help. He had forbidden the rest of the clan from coming to see these people off. As such, most of the people of this convoy, at least those who had families, had already said their goodbyes to their loved ones and friends. His gaze settled upon one particular Uchiha who stood out different from the others. Dressed in dazzling but strong golden armor bearing the dragon on his heart, and the Uchiha crest on his back, Naruto was a prideful sight to look at for Taijima. His youngest was also sporting a dark face mask obscuring his identity, and a similar dark black cloak was attached on his back falling to his waist that would help him battle the cold or travel through the desert sands. The boy carried with him their clan's prestigious ancestral sword resting firmly on his hip. Currently he was giving last instructions to a group of boys named Itachi, Shursui, Kagami and Takashi Uchiha who would be serving under him with the aim of acting as Naori's personal bodyguards. "He's something else, isn't he, brother?" asked Naori with a smile. "He is." "Look after him," requested Taijima, earning a firm nod from his dear sister. "I will," she promised. "And take care of yourself as well," urged Taijima, which made her laugh but not unkindly. "I'm not a little girl you used to watch over," brother chastised Naori playfully, making Taijima sigh, but he nodded. "I know." Naori hugged him and saw Madara doing the same, with Naruto fighting back the tears that threatened to fall from his eyes. "You've got great sons, Taijima." "I'll watch over Naruto. You do the same for Madara," requested Naori. "I promise," he said dutifully. They both approached the boys who were finishing their hug and thereby heard Naruto's words said with a heavy voice. "Thank you, brother." "For my life." Madara smiled and patted his little brother's back. "Just be safe, or I'll piss on your grave," warned Madara, earning a hearty laugh from Naruto. They were interrupted when they heard alarmed shouts from the gate guards. The family of four hastily ran and saw the guards were brandishing weapons at an approaching beast. Naruto's eyes widened, and the same was the case for the rest of his family. He found himself moving forward quickly and gesturing the guards to hold themselves, which they reluctantly did. Alone, he approached the beast, which was bigger and taller than every horse his clan ever had. It stood tall and proud before him, its thick red fur shining in the darkness of the night, its long paws and sharp canine ready to tear its enemies. But it was those same demonic eyes that shocked him most. "Kurama," he whispered. The once monstrous fox, who had now reduced himself to the size of a great horse, looked up at him expectantly. Naruto then noticed the threat with his own clansmen waiting to kill the dangerous beast. He didn't know what made the fox arrive here, or how he managed to make himself this small. But he knew one thing. Kurama was a friend and someone whom he had promised to protect. "He's with me," said Naruto seriously, daring anyone to challenge otherwise. His father and aunt glanced at him warily, an argument about to pass their lips when one firm glare from the boy made them keep their lips sealed. Seeing the clan leader's not object made the guards stand down, although Naruto doubted they would not be overjoyed if the fox ripped him apart. Only Madara grinned as he approached forward and clapped his sibling proudly on the back. "Little brother, you are a man of secrets. Where did you find this beast?" asked Madara curiously. "In the forest," answered Naruto tersely. Madara noticed his brother's tension and decided to let it drop. Instead, he stared at the giant fox, having never seen a beast like this. Surprisingly, the beast growled and looked back at him, which made Madara laugh. "A feisty creature." "It suits you," brother praised Madara. Naruto stared at Kurama for a long moment, a thousand questions circling in his eyes, but still he remained silent, giving a nod to his beast friend, who inclined his head. With the approval given, Naruto climbed atop the giant fox and seated himself, earning a snort from Kurama which made Madara laugh further. He rode back to their clan gates, gesturing his aunt to start their journey, to which he nodded and commanded the convoy to begin. Many men and women alike stared at the kinslayer sitting atop that giant and dangerous fox. Already they feared him, and with the beast, Naruto doubted his reputation would improve. Ignoring those stares and few glares, he gave a respectful nod to his father, who gave him a faint smile. Finally, he stared back at Madara, who looked quite pained. "Farewell, brother. And you too, little brother." With those last words and a final smile shared between siblings, Naruto rode forward atop his fox, never looking back as his family and home became a distant blur. A dozen pair of eyes observed the semi-large convoy passing through the dense forests. While their first instinct was to attack, they didn't have the numbers. Nor would they do such a thing because they were here only to observe. "Is that the kinslayer?" asked a young boy, dressed in heavy armor bearing the mark of his clan. His older brother, who had been hiding in the trees with him, glanced at the distinct Uchiha riding at the very front of the convoy on a giant fox which was bigger than any horse and looked quite menacing. Tales of the Uchiha massacre had spread far and wide despite the dragon descendants' best attempts to keep it a secret. While many sins and crimes were common across the elemental nations, the sin of killing one's own family was the greatest and regarded with sheer contempt among every clan, except for the Kagaya, who were considered completely mad. And Naruto Uchiha, with his Sharingan, rumored fighting prowess, his acts of killing his own clansmen, and now with his dangerous fox, was fast proving himself a terrible and disgusting foe. Yet Hashirama Senju's eyes widened momentarily when those same dark brown eyes glanced in his direction. It was as if Naruto knew they were there, which made the elder Senju grab his sword in alarm. "Is he looking at us, brother?" asked Tobirama in surprise. "I guess so. It seems he has sensory powers just like you," Tobi whispered Hashirama. "He's a kinslayer," spat a disgusted soft feminine voice. Hashirama glanced at his second youngest sibling and sighed. Tsunade had always been a feisty one, and was much like their mother, inheriting the same bright blonde hair and brown eyes along with her fair skin. One day she would become quite a great beauty, but just like their mother, Tsunade fiercely loved her family and her morals. And in her eyes, Naruto Uchiha was the worst scum on earth. He was responsible for the death of her older brother, Kawarama, in the battle between their clans that happened a year ago. Swanda had never forgiven the Uchiha for taking away the brother who had looked after her their entire lives, and it was also because of Naruto and his clansmen that Itama, who was currently hiding beside them, had lost an eye. Hashirama, Tobirama, Itama watched their only sister stare at the kinslayer with sheer contempt and hate in her eyes. Not only was he responsible for harming her family, but he had further degraded himself in the eyes of the entire world, including Tsunade's, by killing his own people for power. He might be one of the strongest warriors, but in her eyes he was nothing but a weak, power-hungry scum. "We should report their movement to father," suggested Hashirama, earning nods from his other clansmen hiding nearby. "Should we not engage them, brother? Together we can take down the kinslayer, ridding the Uchiha of their precious Sharingan," suggested Tobirama coldly, earning a harsh glare from his brother. "We don't have the numbers, and I can sense he won't go down without a fight." "You killed his brother, he will not forget that," warned Hashirama. "I can take him," challenged Tobirama with a glare. "No." Tsunade and Itama flinched at their eldest sibling's harsh reply, which instantly made Tobirama back down with a resigned nod. As their small scouting group started to retreat, her eyes zeroed in on the man she hated, and he glanced back at her. "Kinslayer," she whispered bitterly, wishing to gods that Hashirama had given her permission, for this Uchiha's very existence was an insult to Kawarama's memory. She didn't know how he knew where she was, but he had also chosen not to attack, and instead gave a playful wink in her direction. His infuriating smile only made her growl, but on hearing Hashirama call for her, she reluctantly turned and joined her brothers and clansmen. "One day I will deliver my justice on you, kinslayer." 8 years later, Naori Uchiha stood atop the walls of an ancient and proud castle of her clan. Considered one of their most strongest holdings in the Land of Fire, Castle Tsukiyomi was their clan's pride. Built on top of a tall mountain, it dared to reach the skies, with its lower levels being divided into 7 long divisions, each having a wide forest. 10 times great armies of their enemies had attacked this castle, and 10 times were they defeated. More than half of those attacks had happened in the past 8 years alone, for the Uchiha had started doing something that threatened their enemies. The dragons were gathering allies, and unlike the Senju, who were busy trying to gather support of only the largest and most powerful clans for their side, the Uchihas had done the opposite. Instead of going after the bigger fishes, the Uchiha under the leadership of Naori had focused on smaller clans and those shinobi families that had lost their power. The results were quite unique for both sides. Today, the Senju clan was quite powerful in everything, be they power, money, or political clout. They had mighty allies in the form of the Sarutobi clan, the Akimichi clan, and the Inuzuka clan. Together they all represented the strongest alliance in the southern areas of the elemental nations. On the other hand, the Uchihas were still the single most largest clan, having the most number of fighters than any other, even the Senju. They had developed great allies in the form of Aburame clan, Shimura clan, Yuhi clan, Namikaze clan, Karama clan, and many more smaller families. Together these clans combined represented the single most largest and cunning faction. But there were still many more clans who were yet to choose sides. However, Naori knew it was inevitable. The gathering of such powerful factions on this scale was a clear indication of something inevitable: the Great Clan War. She had done her best to gather as many allies for her people. Most smaller families who had lost their prestige had readily flocked to the Dragon Banner, for they had all heard of Madara's exploits. The clan heir had grown to become one of the most, if not the most powerful shinobi across the elemental nations. Someone against whom not even the Senjus dared to openly strike unless they had the support of one powerful shinobi. Madara had made himself famous when, at the age of 13, the young Uchiha had single-handedly defeated the entire Aburame clan in single combat, leading to their surrender and joining the Dragon Banner. Seeing an ancient and noble clan like the Aburame being defeated like that had made the remaining lesser clans join the Uchiha quite quickly. The Shimura clan had joined quite eagerly without asking for anything in return. However, the Yuhi, Namikaze, and Kurama clan had taken quite some persuading along with fertile lands to settle upon in the Uchiha territory, along with intermarriage between their families and lesser powerful Uchiha families to join the cause. And Naori had done her best to create the perfect balance. But it was not enough, for if the Uchiha had Madara to rally behind, the Senju had their own hero, Hashirama Senju. Considered to be the most powerful shinobi of this era, Hashirama was the only person who had faced Madara in single combat, and not only did he survive but actually forced Madara to a draw. The Senju was highly respected among his clan, and it was his jovial and friendly nature that made powerful clans like the Sarutobi, Inuzuka and Akimichi readily join their cause. Madara had developed a personal rivalry with the Senju leader, which only went up a notch when Madara declared the dragon as the Uchiha's official symbol, apart from their ancestral fan. Hashirama retaliated in kind by choosing the antler, a fine animal found in the forests, as the Senju's official symbol, apart from the Vajra that had been their symbol for thousands of years. She was distracted from her thoughts by the sound of steel clashing against steel. Looking down into the training yard, she was pleased to see her 6 bodyguards engaged in a fierce duel, their group's name being inspired by that of their leader. Naori's eyes settled upon the one having the most dark long hair tied in a ponytail as he finished performing his hand seals, unleashing a massive fireball. His dark eyes settled upon his opponent as he unleashed the blazing jutsu. Out of the 6, he was the best fire style user and a master at shuriken jutsu. Itachi Uchiha was all the Uchiha could ask from the new generation, a prodigy. Beside him another boy with short spiky black hair, and the same dark eyes raised a single finger shrouding the entire training arena in darkness. Naori still had trouble believing this Uchiha's talent with Genjutsu despite his lack of Sharingan, having placed many of his enemies in unbreakable illusions before ending their lives with his hyperfast Shunshin. Shursui Uchiha was the most devious and fastest of the group. A burst of chakra made sure the illusion was dispersed before it took hold by none other than Kagami Uchiha. Charging forward, he engaged both Itachi and Shursui in fierce taijutsu combat, pushing both talented boys back. He was physically stronger than every member of his group and as quick as a bird. The sound of clashing steel again assaulted Naori's ears as she glanced at the twins attacking one fighter fiercely. Takashi and Mikoto were the newest members of the group. They were once servants, having been deemed too weak to fight. But during one of the sieges of their castle, the twins had taken up arms and slayed 4 grown men together. Their act of valor and strength hadn't gone unnoticed by the man currently battling against them, one who decided to make them fighters and was teaching them all he knew. Naori couldn't help but smile at the young man of 14, soon to be 15, who had kept her safe all these years. Naruto Uchiha had made a name for himself in the elemental nations as the finest swordsman. Dazzling in his golden armor, and his silky brown hair and angelic features, he was a handsome sight to look at. While his brother had made his enemies shake in fear, Naruto was hated and looked down upon because of his past actions. Many had dared challenge him, the most prominent being the Fuma clan, who had tried to take this castle only to be slayed in single combat by Naruto himself. She still shivered on remembering the day her nephew butchered the Fuma to their last member with Dawn, his ancestral weapon ending a noble family that had lasted thousands of years. The same boy blocked the sword strike from the twins with his own ancestral weapon before pushing them both back with a firm push. He smirked when Kagami, Itachi, and Shursui joined beside Takashi and Mikoto, all of them now pointing their swords at him. "Even now I can cut through the 5 of you like carving a cake," mocked the Kinslayer. The Kinsguard laughed at his remark but prepared themselves nonetheless. Naori watched the group attack Naruto together, which made him laugh as he activated his Sharingan and began the battle. Naori couldn't help but remember the time when she thought Naruto would never gain friends because of his reputation. But as always he surprised her. Itachi, Shursui, and Kagami, despite being heirs to less powerful Uchiha families, had made their own judgment of Naruto in the first 3 years watching the Kinslayer and his actions. When Naruto continued to prove his loyalty to the clan over and over again, the 3 boys again requested to serve under Naruto with the aim of protecting Naori's life. Naruto had agreed, for he had personally seen the skill of the 3 boys in battle. At the same time, against Naori's wishes, her nephew had inducted Takashi and Mikoto under his command. The twins were supposed to be servants, but Naruto took them under his wing and taught them how to be ninjas. As the years passed, the group learned how to work together and accept each other despite their different likes and personalities. Kinsguard, they were called for their unflinching loyalty towards their leader, the Kinslayer. Naruto chuckled when his kick connected with Takashi's solar plexus, making them boy gasp and fall to the ground in pain. He gave another quick roundhouse kick, sending both Mikoto and Kagami crashing away. It was Shursui and Itachi who clashed their swords against him, sending bright sparks everywhere. However, Naruto rotated his long sword with enough force to disarm Shursui, thereby leaving him open for Naruto's punch that connected with his jaw, which sent him crashing away as well. That only left the 2 most brilliant fighters of the Kinsguard against each other. It was a well-known fact that Itachi admired Naruto for his fighting skills. The boy had tried for years to defeat the Kinslayer in combat but was defeated every day. His aim of defeating Naruto in sword fighting still evaded him every time. Itachi charged forward wordlessly, aiming his weapon for a horizontal slash towards Naruto's chest. The older Uchiha simply sidestepped before kicking Itachi in the knees, earning a pained grunt. Both boys again began fighting fiercely, but Naruto had a distinct advantage with his Sharingan, and Naori could see despite Itachi's best efforts, her nephew was handling the boy with ease. Naruto finally had enough and charged forward, feinting a strike to the right which made Itachi react in defense. The Kinslayer smirked victoriously by changing his sword hand to the left one and delivering a painful strike to Itachi's ribs that made the boy double over as Naruto placed his sword on his fellow Uchiha's neck. "Still better than you," taunted Naruto, but without any kind of arrogance or spite in his voice, and instead offered his hand to Itachi when the boy made the sign of reconciliation. "Someday I'll beat you, Lord Commander," replied Itachi confidently, making Naruto groan at the title. "How many times have I told you not to call me that?" asked Naruto irritatedly, a frown arriving on his lips when Itachi blinked confusedly. "You are our leader. It is befitting I address you by your position." There were brief chuckles as the rest of the Kinsguard came forward and surrounded the two boys. It was Shursui who spoke first. "Leave it, Naruto. You'd find it easier to make the Senju surrender rather than making Itachi ease up on traditions a little," teased Shursui, earning a mild glare from Itachi. "How's the stomach, Takeshi?" asked Kagami humorlessly, earning a groan from the young boy. "Fuck you." Naruto chuckled at the playful banter amongst his friends that they mocked each other. Friends. He glanced at each of them and couldn't help but be glad for having them in his life. After his past, he had given up on any hope of ever finding people who liked him. Most people in the world still hated him. But these five had looked past the hate and his past. They had made their own judgment and taken a risk of believing in him. He looked at the lazy fox pretending to sleep in a nearby corner and couldn't help but grin proudly, for these people around him were a proof of his claim that not all Uchiha were bad or simply insane as the beast considered. Naruto still found it hard to believe Kurama had decided to travel with him. The only reason the beast had given for such an action was the fact that the Hagoromo and Kagaya clans were hunting for him, and it was safer if he stayed by Naruto's side. On being asked why, the fox had simply said that the Uchiha, despite their madness, were quite feared. Staying with them would help the beast keep an eye on them while also ensuring that he stayed out of human conflicts. But Naruto doubted that it was the entire truth, for Kurama was strong enough to handle anyone that threatened him. He liked to believe the fox came with him because they were friends. Apart from the Kinsguard, his aunt, the fox had been his constant companion and protected any that tried to harm him. It was Naruto and Kurama together who eliminated the entire Fuma clan in single combat, a fact that still made the Uchiha proud and made them accept the beast into their ranks. "Do you guys ever rest?" He turned to see his aunt approaching towards their group with a smile on her beautiful face. When the rest of the Kinsguard knelt respectfully, Naruto followed suit, but only for a moment, as Naori caught his shoulders, swiftly making him look back at her with a puzzled look in his eyes. "Your family. You never have to kneel before me," she said gently, making him look away. "I am disowned, Naori-sama," said Naruto curtly, unable to his sadness over the affair. "Not to me." She looked him in the eyes that were so much like his mother's. "You are an Uchiha. You might not have our name, but you are my blood." Naruto looked away, unable to meet her piercing gaze that always made him feel like a child even if he was man now. Soon to be 15 of age, which was quite old in the short-lived mortality of their world, Naori still made him feel like a young boy. And as frustrating it was, it didn't change the fact that it was endearing as well, for here away from his father and elder brother, Naruto still had family in his aunt who had looked after him all these years as if he were her own son. He watched her interact happily with his friends, praising them for their skills while also pointing out their mistakes. And it was fair to say people respected her, loved her, which was the opposite of what most thought of him. He was still lost in his own melancholy when Naori grabbed his arm, making him look back at her. "Walk with me," she commanded, earning a swift nod from her nephew. Naruto bid his friends goodbye as he started walking with his aunt, observing the rest of their outpost members busy with their work. Servants were seen buzzing around with their daily chores, the weaponsmith was forging some new swords, the guards were manning their stations with full vigilance, the traders sat in a corner offering various goods from lands far and near, the whores were present in a far-off building waiting for any who wanted to enjoy their services. As they walked through their castle, every man, woman or child stopped to greet his aunt respectfully, even calling him Lord Commander, for he was responsible for the security of this castle. But as soon as they turned their backs, those very same people glared at his back and whispered with loathing evident in their voice. Kinslayer. He had gotten used to it over the years, often smiling at those glares and whispered taunts. But every time it felt like a dagger to his heart, one which he would bear for the rest of his life, and nothing would ever change the stain on his honor and his reputation. "Does it bother you?" asked Naori sadly, and was not surprised when he gave her a mocking smile. "A dragon doesn't bother with the opinion of sheep," replied Naruto with such ease that made her believe him, but his eyes spoke a different story. "Your eyes betray your pain, Naruto. They have always held a beautiful yet sad melancholy look in them," whispered Naori. He faltered at her acute observation, still not used to the fact that she could read him like an open book when most people didn't. Or maybe it was the fact that they hated him intensely that made them blind. "Poetic. I never thought one so beautiful could be this artistic," he praised with a grin, making her sigh tiredly. "We have a visitor today," she said seriously, ignoring his sarcasm. Who? He asked, all playfulness gone from his voice as his eyes turned cold and attentive. Tsukumo Hatake. Despite his shock, Naruto didn't falter and continued walking by her side, and she could see his sharp mind was running through the implications of this event. He is a sworn ally of the Senjus, isn't he? Asked Naruto curiously. He is, as is the rest of his clan. But today he came to us for aid, revealed Naori frankly. Most Uchihas would have erupted in anger over the actions of a known enemy, but not her nephew. She watched him close his eyes briefly, and when he spoke she couldn't help but see her brother in him. The Hatake clan are distant allies of the Senju. They have fought for them for nearly a century, but I have heard recent reports of discontent growing in their ranks. Most prominently due to the frequent land poaching done by the Sarutobi clan in their lands with the permission of the Senjus. Something has changed, suggested Naruto. Correct. Something has happened. By now they had reached her chambers, and Naruto saw a tall man with pure silver hair that reached up to his shoulders and stark gray eyes waiting for him. The man was fully armed and armored, carrying with him a fine short sword and the symbol of his clan, a eagle on his chest. The White Fang, people called him, and he was straight to the point. Have you made a decision, Naori-sama? Asked the Hatake curtly. The Uchiha woman smiled as she walked past her nephew and the Hatake leader before seating herself in her chair. When she spoke again, both men were surprised. That depends on my nephew, Lord Tsukumo, said Naori with a hidden smile. Naruto unflinchingly stared as the man turned towards him, the judgment evident in his hard eyes, but then his eyes shifted towards the Uchiha ancestral sword, Dawn, on Naruto's hip, and he was reminded of something else. Naruto Uchiha. The boy of 14 knew saying his name was hard for the older man against the term people usually addressed him by. But Tsukumo was a smart man who needed help, and Naruto was pleased to meet a leader who set aside his pride for his people, even if the same man looked at him curtly with disapproval evident in his eyes. Lord Hatake, he replied curtly. You have asked for our help, Lord Tsukumo. And while it is true that I am the representative of my clan on behalf of my elder brother, it is my nephew who retains command of our forces stationed here so far from home. If you need aid, you have to make your case to him, directed Naori, surprising Naruto as he stared at her. He was no longer the heir or even a spare, and yet his aunt always liked to thrust these political problems at him quite often. Even now she was smiling amusedly, waiting for his decision as Lord Tsukumo stared at him impatiently. Let's hear it, said Naruto in a resigned voice. The Yamanaka. Naruto didn't miss the hatred in the man's voice or the anger present in his gray eyes as he said the name of one of the most noble and feared clans of the world. What of them? Asked Naruto seriously. A week ago, Iwashi Yamanaka, the current heir of the clan, abducted my daughter from my home forcefully. I want her back, said Tsukumo bitterly. Naruto appreciated a man who got to the point without any unwanted conversation. Last I heard, you are a sworn ally of the Senju clan, our enemies. Why not ask them for help in this matter? Asked Naruto seriously, looking harshly upon the clan leader. Don't you think I have tried, boy? Hashirama Senju asked for time to resolve this matter because his efforts to make the Yamanaka join his side are more important than the safety of my daughter or the injustice done to our clan which has served Hashirama's family for generations, explained Tsukumo furiously. Naruto ignored the remark thrown at him and walked towards the man. Despite his young age, he was still tall enough to almost stare the older man in the eye, and his armored form only seemed to make Tsukumo stiffen. And why would the Uchiha help a clan that has been our sworn enemy for generations? Our own side has been trying to make the Yamanaka side with us. If we help you, then we will simply make them join the Senjus. And last I checked, the Yamanaka clan has more fighters than you, and their mind jutsu are more dangerous than your entire clan combined, explained Naruto honestly, a dangerous glint in his eyes that made Tsukumo flinch. Naori sipped her wine with a smile, quite pleased with having her nephew tear into the enemy clan leader. She loved watching his hidden potential, for Naruto was as skilled with his words as he was with his sword. He would make a good leader. She proudly watched the anger and righteousness disappear from Tsukumo's face as he now looked like a defeated man. It is true that we have been enemies, but when my sworn allies forsake me, I am left with no choice but to approach a faction that has the power to save my daughter. If I act against the Yamanaka, which I want to, the Senju clan will destroy my clan for hindering their great cause of gathering powerful allies. But my daughter, said Tsukumo briefly with a nasty scowl present on his face. Most people would have reacted favorably in the helpless man's side. Naori knew Madara would, for he was a man of action, one thirsted for battles no matter the foe. But Naruto was a different man, forged through hardships and scorn he faced in his life that made him look at the world differently than his brother. I'm afraid we cannot help you, Lord Tsukumo. Have a good day. Tsukumo was left speechless by the boy's decision, but looking into those stone-cold eyes reminded him of the fact that he was an Uchiha, and they were never known to be kind, merciful, or just even to their own clan members, much less to those belonging to other clans. He had known about this possibility but had still hoped to gather some support for his family and clan by manipulating the Uchiha's hatred for the Senjus. But the Kinslayer was far sharper than people gave him credit for. The boy might be a criminal, but he was dangerous. Tsukumo had seen that. He looked at Naori one last time for another answer, but she regretfully shook her head, accepting her nephew's decision. Tired and defeated, Tsukumo turned around and started to walk away when he was forced to stop. Swear fealty to my clan, and I promise to give you back your daughter, your lost lands, your stolen dignity and make your enemies repent for their actions against you. Sakumo turned back swiftly, his face a mask of surprise and relief, which was further elated when he saw Naruto stare back at him unflinchingly. I will personally lead this mission along with my Kingsguard and see that justice is done for both our clans, promised Naruto. Nara, said Naori hesitantly. While she knew he was strong, going up against the Yamanaka clan with just his Kingsguard was not enough. More than that, it was not worth risking so much for the Hatake clan that barely had 300 fighters. Naruto looked back at her with a conviction ever present in his brown eyes. If we can't protect our prospective allies, then why should they protect us? Sakumo looked on as Naori nodded her head, albeit reluctantly, giving her approval, which finally made the boy in golden armor start his own march towards the exit. Kinslayer. Naruto stopped only to turn around and find Sakumo staring back at him, but with less distaste in his hard eyes. You're not the man I expected you to be, stated Sakumo honestly, and saw a far-off look present in the boy's eyes, likely as he remembered some memory from his past. Neither did I, Lord Sakumo. The boy gave a curt nod before marching out without ever looking back, his dark cloak strapped on his armor swirling gracefully behind him. Sakumo didn't know how long he stayed there staring at the door, for a lot of things had changed for him in the past few minutes. Most of all, he had judged a man wrongly. It was always said that even the most powerful and deceptive ninjas couldn't hide their treachery or evil lurking in their hearts if one looked closely in their eyes. For the eyes were a reflection of a person's heart, and today he had seen the heart of Naruto Uchiha. He felt another presence arriving beside him and saw Naori staring at the same door with a sad look in her eyes. Do you think he can do it? Asked Sakumo finally, making the beautiful Uchiha smirk. He never makes empty promises. If he says he will do it, then he will, assured Naori, and saw the Hatake clan head close his eyes for several long moments before opening them again with clarity present in those orbs. If he manages to save my daughter without attracting the attention of the Yamanaka, Senju, or anyone else, then I will officially join your side along with my clan. The Hatake will fight for you. We are not a large clan but a proud one. And we can fight as fiercely like any other great clans, promised Sakumo, earning a nod from Naori. Then, for the time being, until Naruto completes his mission, you shall be our guest. Once the deed is done, we'll make the treaty official, and while I have every faith in your integrity, I will remind you that a dragon never trusts easily, and if wronged, it burns its enemies to ashes, said Naori cryptically, with a chilling smile that made Sakumo shiver as he remembered how Madara Uchiha alone had decimated the Aburame clan in single combat, and he had no intention of pissing off that dangerous man. Naori smirked when her point was made and when she saw the raw fear in Sakumo's eyes, likely because of Madara's reputation of raining down fire and blood on their enemies. Compared to him, Naruto was far too merciful and accommodating, something which people took him granted for, including the man beside her. Sakumo stiffened and looked in alarm as the woman beside him unleashed a dangerous amount of killing aura right at him, her dark eyes boring into his very soul with barely restrained hatred and anger, completely abolishing her prior image of a simple diplomat. And while Naori had not taken out any weapons against him, Sakumo could feel the threat quite clearly. We respect our allies and expect the same in return, Sakumo Hatake. You have called my nephew a name today, and if you dare repeat that or something worse, then it'll not be just me that you'll piss off, but Madara Uchiha and Taijima Uchiha themselves. Compared to them and me, Naruto Uchiha is far more merciful. Understood? She asked icily. He saw it then, the madness this clan was famous and feared for, because there was none who loved or none who hated as fiercely as the Uchiha. And the same madness lurked in Naori's eyes as she glared at him menacingly, and he saw it in her eyes that this woman would butcher his entire clan if they wronged her own. Compared to her, the look he had seen in Naruto's eyes was different. It was a look of melancholy and sadness hidden behind smiles or sarcastic humor he was famous for. He had a strength to him witnessed by Sakumo in just the way the boy carried himself, but most of all the boy was known for keeping his promises.